Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I will just warn everyone now. I had some issues trying to start this space. It kept disconnecting. So, not sure what's going on, but welcome, welcome, everyone. Oh, it's so good to see everybody here. And what a week it has been. This has been an epic week for generative AI. Thank you all for coming. I'm passing mics out right now. Um, this was something else, right? Taylor, what do you think? This was one of those weeks
Oh
that
my God. I know. Welcome back, you guys. It's good to see so many familiar faces as always every week. I'm excited to be here and just learn from the hive because I've got questions. We all got questions. We all have experiences and things to share over the last week. So excited to dig into it. It's been wild.
absolutely. And Salma, what about you? How has your week been?
Yeah, happy Friday, everyone. Exciting week, lots to cover, lots of developments. So I'm really excited to be here and really cover everything that's been happening with OpenAI, custom ChatGPT, um, and yeah, there's so many things to cover, and we have quite a lot of things to talk about today. So I'm really excited and welcome everyone.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you. And we have Rob. Thank you so much. Rob Lennon is with us
Hey,
again. How
hey.
was your week?
Honestly, it was a bit stressful. I'm working so hard on so many really cool things, and it's like it's very exciting to be in this moment in time, like building really cool stuff. But it also like when there's bugs or issues or like little stumbling blocks, you just get like, oh, it feels like everything takes slightly longer than it's supposed to, and when that it's just been adding up a little bit this week. So, but that does not diminish my excitement to be here with my friends, with all of you in the audience, to talk about this stuff.
It's so amazing. Yeah, it feels like it's totally different now with every week we keep thinking, well, this is the possibilities are endless, but it just really continues. I'm still kind of flying high from playing with GPT last night, and I'm just like discovering new things every few minutes, but I am so excited today because we have a great lineup. And hey, I see Chris there. Thank you all for coming. And I just real fast, I'll go through. We do have a guest today. We have Michael Doherty from Remix, and Remix is a really exciting platform. And my host, I can't see him right now, so if you see him, and could you please get him a mic? I was trying to go through there, but I can't tell from my phone. I'm still operating the spaces from my phone. But for everybody here, if you could please show us some love with the emojis, let us know in the bottom if you're on a phone and you see the heart, or let us know if something's resonating with you. And um, just go ahead and like it just kind of helps us understand what your feeling is. We have quite a bit to talk about, and we're probably not going to do much with taking too many people mics from the audience, so I apologize now just so we can make sure we get through everything. But I do want to start out, we're going to talk to Mike. He's going to tell us about this platform that is pretty unknown, but you guys are really going to, I think if you give it a try, you'd be quite surprised. It's quite a new idea, and I think you'll be very interested to hear what he has to say and what's coming next. Then we're going to just start talking about the litany of announcements that have we had this week, and the new features and the new ways that we can use multimodal generative AI. So we're going to go through the panel in a few minutes, but I see Mike there. And Mike, thank you so much. He's the CEO and founder of Get It's Remix. It's called Remix, not Get Remix, but it's Remix, and it's really fun. Is your last name Doherty? Do you pronounce it
That's
or
that's
or Doherty?
it's Doherty, but I think you've got the
Doherty.
Philadelphia. That's how they pronounce it
Yeah,
in
I
Philly.
am. Well, I'm from Western Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. But yeah, I feel you.
That's good.
But thank you, Doherty.
Hey, well, Heather, it's nice to meet you, and also the
You
rest of the
too.
hosts, Sama, Taylor, Rob. It's just nice to meet everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us here. We have a great group of people in our audience. It includes a little bit of everybody. So, if you could just tell us what is Remix?
Yeah, sure. So Remix is a social app for AI creation. And so you can kind of think of it as combining sort of the Instagram or TikTok type experience meeting AI creation. So we had this idea that um, there's so many, well, first of all, AI is magic, and it's allowing all of us to create images, videos, paintings, photographs in seconds, some of which, in some cases, with people who didn't have skill to do that before this new technology was created. And so we thought it would be amazing if we could create a place where the AI community could share their creations with each other, similar to how their social apps work, but be very purpose built for that. That could be a lot of fun, and frankly, we could sort of create a new type of media or social media in the process. Uh,
Well, that's the thing. Oh, I apologize. Go ahead.
oh no, I could, yeah, I'll share some more as well. I just didn't want to talk
Oh no, I
straight.
appreciate it because it's such an unusual. It's such an unusual. It's hard to explain. We have so many new things now with generative AI. It's hard to describe a lot of these ideas because everything's new. So it kind of helps just listening to what you were
Yeah.
saying and about that. And what are the ways that what do you have going on right now? Like you have a lot of like you'll feature people, feature design or feature prompts or
Yeah.
images of the day, and you have different challenges and lots of different things that are going on each week in each
Yeah,
day.
let me tell you a little bit about how the experience works. So, when you log in, create an account, you'll have a profile just like you would on any kind of social app. The first thing you can do is you can create an image. And so we have in Remix a very powerful creation engine that's based on prompting that allows you to just unleash your imagination, create whatever you want. And we kind of view Remix as sort of a social network for your imagination. In this case, unlike other types of social media where maybe what you're posting is more about performing, like TikTok or showing images from some restaurant or vacation you're proud of. In this case, it's, you know, what your imagination comes up with. And so uh, you can create something, you can post, you can add a caption. As soon as it hits the feed, people generally see it and they like it and they can give you feedback. One of the things about our posts is they include the prompts. So you can, when you're browsing through the feed and discovering what other people are making, you can tap on the post and you can see the prompt that generated that image. So we thought it would be a great way to allow people to learn from each other how to create using prompts and AI, and that somehow, like I think we are all learning together right now. As much as most of the people on this space are experts at AI, I think most of the world, this is the first time they've been trying to use prompting and even ChatGPT is, even though it has 100 million plus people on it, it's not a billion people. There's still a lot of people who haven't used AI before. And then when you look at image or video, it's even a fewer number of people. So this idea that they could type something, some text into a box and get an image back in seconds, is just magic for a lot of folks. And so they're wanting to learn how to do it. And one way they can do that is by looking at the posts of other people and learning about the prompts from those other folks. The other thing you can do is, in addition to creating, you can have fun doing what we call a remix, which is if you see a prompt you like or a post that you like, you can hit the remix button and then you can sort of edit or change the prompt to extend the story or extend the theme from that original post. And we kind of thought of it a little like a retweet or some sort of way of echoing forward the original idea and making it your own or changing it a bit. And that can create some pretty cool collaborative moments on Remix where people are remixing each other and sometimes it even creates a little bit of a meme environment of having fun around a certain theme or telling a story even. So we thought that would be kind of cool, and that's why the app's called Remix. The last thing that you can do that I'll highlight is if you're a big fan of using Midjourney or some other creative engines or tools, you can post those into the feed as well. We wanted this to be a place for um, all AI creations, whether it's image, and we also support video. So I'm a big fan of using Runway specifically and Pika Labs, but you can post videos as well, and in all cases you can add music. So you can add a soundtrack. We thought, let's make AI fun, and we thought it should include having some cool music. So maybe we, as much as we're TikTok or Instagram meets AI, we're also kind of MTV meets AI too.
Yeah, that is so cool because a lot of times you go on, and even for me, I don't know what I want to generate that quickly. But then when I go through the feed and get ideas, and or you can upload your image, image to image, and it's very crisp, very clear. And it there's several styles on there too, and that you can use a cinematic and a different, surreal. If so, there are a lot of people in the audience right now who are creating quite a bit on there. So I see Everett and Ludovic and Tom, I think, is on there. A lot of people here I want to go through, but I invite everyone, please, in the comments, in the chat below, drop your work, put a link to your post in there because there's a lot of really packed tutorials and prompt shares and breaking down different art styles that people are writing about. Mayor King, lots of people, and they're giving you ideas, and you can just kind of follow that style and the prompt, and certain things look better on outside of Midjourney, certain styles. Takala does quite a few with different anime or whatever. You can go ahead and just try something new and remix if you want, but drop your stuff in there so that we can see, because there's a lot of really great images that are coming out of there. And I wanted to ask Chris, Castanova is here, and I was speaking. I told Chris about Remix, and did you have anything you wanted to ask or add to that? Because you have an account on there.
Oh my God, Heather! Hi everyone. Can
Hey,
you hear?
Chris.
Hi, can you all hear me well?
Sure can. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So, I was so busy with my work that I didn't even know what Remix AI is. I've never heard of it, and I work at Adobe, and I do everything that's connected with AI. And very recently, we launched something, and we have this functionality where you can share links. And I was calling that thing Remix because it's kind of like you can share a link to the image you generated, and people can kind of go there and edit it in some way. And then someone asked me, "Oh, what do you mean Remix? Is it that app?" And I was like, "Which app?" And that was first time I've heard about it, but I haven't tried it. I thought it was just another AI generation tool, like DALI 3 or Stable Diffusion or Midjourney. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna look into it, but I wasn't really thrilled because there are so many AI generators. And then yesterday I was talking to Heather, and she shared with me, like, we are friends. Heather and I are friends. We often talk as friends. And she shared with me this. And I installed it on my phone, and it was the best few hours in my week. I got so
That's awesome.
obsessed with it. First of all, I am super grateful that you made it possible to use any AI generator because, yeah, I work at Adobe. I'm actually working with scientists who develop Firefly. So I'm quite biased because it's like my baby and I want to use this AI generator a lot. So I was like, okay, and it is possible. Like, I uploaded my Firefly images and people started remixing them. And I felt so cool. And you can add music. And I like generating music with different tools, and I had some tracks on my phone, and I couldn't believe that I could just upload them, because in most apps like TikTok or something, it has to be on Spotify. I don't have Spotify, I'm not a musician, so to just be able to like take a track that I generated, take my own image, put a prompt, and then see people like just remixing it and connecting with me, it was just such a breath of fresh air, because I think Instagram used to be so fun and so cool, and now it just became like shouting into the void. There is no community aspect of it. So I was like waiting. So I'm rooting for you guys. Like, we need social media app that has like community aspect, that you can use any AI generator and like just create and connect and do stuff. So I'm super thrilled. I told everyone at work about you, including people who are scientists, who are just not even on social media. And like everyone I showed it to, they were super inspired by this idea. So yeah, well
That's
done.
awesome.
It's amazing. Rooting for you. Hope you'll grow and hope you will be like next
I love
amazing
it.
app.
Because that is literally like makes me feel so good. I mean, that's the reason we built this. Um, the the things you mentioned were what we were thinking when we first started designing, which is the amount of innovation that's occurring across the space at every company or every engine that's being developed is rapid and radical. There's new magic being created all the time. So if you can create a place where people can show the latest and how they use it, um, that we can all learn from all of the things that are happening. And also the idea of music, I think, was important. I think our head of engineering was the first person who came up with that and said, fireflies and mid-journey images should have music attached. They're just too cool. Um, so we added that, and sometimes I think people come up with the song first, and then they figure out what image or video they want to put to it. So that's also kind of fun, where you almost like TikTok, you think about the song first, and then you add something to it. But yeah, it just sort of opens up the creative approach. And another thing you can do is if you want to make a post, you can add multiple images of like Instagram to the post, so it can tell a little story, or you can show maybe variations of the same image with different styles or different takes on it.
So I have one question to you, because I only used app for one evening, and I was sharing my attention between creating GPTs and using your app, because it was very exciting evening yesterday, right? So my question is, I love the idea of images and music with it, because I actually used to work as a photographer, and when I used to photograph, like sometimes I would be on an assignment and I would photograph different things, and then I would make this, like I would put a soundtrack and it would show images one after the other. And sometimes it's good to show a lot of images, like almost like like I don't know if I'm describing it, if you understand what I mean, but it's almost like a showcase of all the
Yes.
images of the story and the music. And all these apps like, I don't know, TikTok, they sometimes do it. It's like very fast, like image on like a dynamic track, for example. Um, that would be like, I don't know if it's possible to do it like this now, but that would be a super cool feature, because I did something similar when we released a new model. I was generating like hundreds of images, and then I put them all together and I created a video with soundtrack. And that stuff went viral because it was like lots of really cool images showcasing the model that was just released. And I think it would just maybe add to a storytelling aspect as well, because you can then kind of create
Oh,
this
totally. I agree with you
tracks.
100%. Like, I think when I first started, when we were playing with the pre-launch product Remix, it was still in beta and we hadn't launched it yet. we didn't even have at that point multi image posts. So it's just like one post per, post, one image per post. And what I was doing is that I would just like hand make slideshows essentially by connecting them using like iMovie or something, and then putting music behind it because it was just fun to tell the story that way. In fact, I made this one about like some fictional night at the Whiskey a Go Go in Los Angeles where people were going to a rock concert, and I just told a whole story. So I totally understand what you're saying. It's like the combination of music and a story and these amazing images that are being created that have this depth to it, um, really can evoke something fun or emotion, or almost like a music video. It's just super cool. So,
Yeah, but I mean, does it do it by itself, or you have to scroll yourself?
well, right now um, we don't have the feature yet to do
Okay,
a
okay, then
slideshow.
yeah, I was just asking that because I thought maybe I haven't found it in the app, and it's like it would be cool thing to
Yeah.
have. But I know you're super new, so this is like cool. I already am super happy as it is. So.
It's, well, the closest thing we have right now that you can try out if you want is you can create a string of 10 images in one post, so
Uh-huh.
multi-post.
But people will have to scroll
Right,
like through themselves. Okay.
correct. Yeah, they'll have to swipe through it, but then the music will be playing underneath that while they're swiping. So the same song can play while
Mm-hmm.
they're like swiping through.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Oh, Mike, can I ask a question? I saw Sama just threw her hand up, so if you want to go,
No,
Sama,
Emily,
you
I
can.
was going to ask if you could say something because I know, especially for music too, but please do.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated about this music stuff, or where it's headed, I guess, or where you think it's headed. So I haven't been able to test it yet. I was talking to Chris this afternoon, and she was gushing about it, and I was like, oh, I gotta check it out. And Heather, of course, I heard from Heather yesterday about it too. But so I work at Splash, which is like a music generation place, and so it was really interesting to me because I love like adding music and generating music and like working with that kind of stuff. Like, oh, cool, like you can add music and stuff. But the thing that's really interesting about like what you guys are doing with the remix stuff with the images is like this whole idea, right, that you were talking about before, that I feel like I've talked about forever, is like how AI is almost like we're starting to enter into this sort of like almost social communal artistic experience, and like how that's just going to change how we all think about art and having like artistic experiences. So I love that idea and what you're doing with that. Are you guys like working at all in the music sphere of like how, or do you have any plans of like being able to also like do stuff with music in that sort of like remixy kind of way? Or is that like I mean, I work in it a little bit, so I know how crazy that is, but I was also just
Right.
curious.
Well, the answer is yes. I mean, well, the answer is we want to. So, um, like for example, let me just give you an example. Right now, you can post audio that's pre-made to the post, so it's cool. You can add all sorts of different kinds of tracks, etc. But wouldn't it be cool if you could type a prompt and the prompt would generate some sort of audio with it? Like that would be badass, especially if it was really tuned well. And so we had been looking around to see if there was any technology that we could incorporate into Remix that could facilitate that generation of audio that would go with the generation of the image. Um, and we haven't really found something yet, quite yet, that, and maybe that's what you're working on. So we'd love to connect on that because I think that would be a really amazing experience to have a creator to be able to create an audio generated or music generated background or track that would go with the image or the video.
Yeah, totally. Hit me up on like my DMs or something. Let's chat about it. Because that might be something that'd be really cool. I don't have like a huge amount of sway at the company, but I
We'd love to.
can talk to them about it. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have a
that would
lot
be
of
awesome.
experience too in the area of AI generated music. So in just generative AI. So Emily's an excellent resource for that. Salma, go ahead.
Hey Mike, what you guys developed with Remix AI incredible. I downloaded the app earlier today, but haven't really had the chance to like generate the types of images that I wanted to generate. But I have a question about some of the features. I know that I think if I can remember correctly, users can integrate their Midjourney account with Remix. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yes. Um, and just to say how you do it, since you have a Discord account, because you're using Midjourney, it will prompt you to simply sign in to your Discord through the app. And then what it'll do is it'll pull your upscales into the experience, sort of like it's a camera roll.
Mhm.
And then you can choose from those upscales as to which ones you want to post.
Oh, that's amazing. So you're saying that you can basically generate the image on Midjourney using Remix AI. Is that correct?
You'll do unfortunately, you'll have to make the image on Midjourney through
Mm-hmm.
Discord, because we don't have the way to, actually create it on Remix using Midjourney as the engine. So you'll have to actually make it on Discord. And then once you upscale it, so you hit the, whatever that's called on Midjourney, but you create like the
Mm-hmm.
upscaled version. As soon as you do that, we can then pull that into Remix and you can easily post it at that point. So just like it's from your camera roll.
Oh, amazing.
And so and I've done that a lot. And back to that sort of, you can also do multi-image posts too. So that's kind of fun. You can make a bunch of Midjourneys that maybe have something to do with a story or a theme or some styles you're playing with. And then simply go to Remix, choose at the very bottom when you hit the create button, there's the very bottom, it'll say from Midjourney. You just click the Midjourney button and then it'll pop up. It'll take a second for it to pull all the upscales, but then you'll see all the ones you got and just click on the ones you want to post and then you just go from there.
That's amazing. I'm gonna definitely play around with it some more this weekend and
Awesome.
post.
I'm going to look for it.
Post.
I might have to remix some of your stuff. So just,
Oh yeah,
beware.
for
Yeah,
sure.
he's on there. He's on there, and that's the fun thing too, that he's posting too. So I
I'm
didn't
an
know that was
addict.
a great question.
I'm a remix addict, Heather. So I'll just,
I know.
let's
Well,
just,
it's very easy. It's very easy to do that, and I didn't even realize that you could connect to the Midjourney to Discord. So thank you for asking that question, Salma. I really appreciate it. Taylor, go ahead.
Yes. Hey, Mike. It's nice to meet you. I just downloaded the app a little bit ago and I tried to log in, but I have too many apps open on my phone and I don't want to get kicked off the space. So right after this, I'm going to play around with it. Excuse me. But I wanted to touch on something really quick that Amelie, I hope I'm pronouncing it the right way, mentioned, which is that like we're in this really, and not to get too pie in the sky, but a little bit. I think that this app is such an indicator or a signal of kind of where like social is going in a lot of ways. Because if you think about how people on Twitter here on X who are already very entrenched in this AI art community, how they're using Twitter as it is right now is like you've kind of just streamlined that whole experience and process to where you can do it all just in one app. So I think we're in an interesting point in time with like AI art as well, where there's sort of a creative renaissance happening a little bit in how we strike a relationship with this new kind of medium, and as well as how we interact with each other. The old guard of social media is changing a lot. So my question, actually a couple questions for you, just because I'm really excited to get into this, is how, like, when did you guys launch? Because I haven't heard too much about it, so I'm curious, like, if you guys have been in beta or if you just rolled out. And then the second question is what does the plan for social interaction, social engagement currently look
yeah.
like for the app, and what does the future of that look like can you follow people, can you interact kind of socially, or is it, yeah, so those are my questions.
Yeah, no, those are super good questions. Okay, let me just start with the basics first. So we launched about a month ago, so it's brand new. Um, we launched on iOS and Android, so it should be available for anybody on either of those platforms. We're getting ready sort of to do more of a public kind of PR type push, maybe in more in December. We'll see what happens, but right now we're sort of building our community. Um, let's talk about social though. So one of the things that we saw right from the beginning was a different behavior than what we're all used to with social media, where if you're familiar with the 1-10-100 pyramid of social pyramid, where most people consume the feed, that's the 100 at the bottom. Then some people post, that's the 10. And some people run the place, that's the that's like, the influencers, etc. That's like the one. And so we were expecting maybe similar behavior with this type of social experience with AI creation. But what we're seeing is something different. And so I can share a little bit about that data. It's We're creating something new here, and it's more participatory. It's more lean forward. It's 50-50. It's not a pyramid. We're seeing people do 12 to 15 generations a day per user on an average basis, which is about 50x more than what you see posts on Instagram. Because most of the time, people on Instagram, they're posting maybe when they have something to post. Like it might be daily, but it might not be weekly or even monthly. In some cases for some people. But in the case of AI generation, it's your imagination. So there's a lot of posting happening, a lot of creation happening. We've already seen in the first month 500,000 images created, and there's 1.2 million post views so far. So people are creating and they're looking at what other people are creating. And this is creating a more lean forward environment, that not to kind of like knock the current social products out there, but I think we've all seen them become much more lean back. In some ways, maybe there's a feeling of not as fun anymore, or even like what we think is very healthy. It's just very healthy that your imagination is kind of getting involved, and the creativity is there. So um, we'll see if that continues. I think it is. I think it's creating a new type of social media in the process. Oh,
Linus, please go ahead. Linus, you had your hand up. Can you speak?
Yeah, I can.
Welcome, Linus. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, thank you. I'm probably the only one here that has not downloaded Remix, and I feel that I have it now, but I can't log in because then I get kicked off the call. Uh, and I've just been looking around on the internet on my computer now as you've been talking. I'm super stoked about this. I'm so happy that someone has built this. Um, and from what I'm hearing everyone saying, it seems to be a very nice experience. I'm curious about your background. What have you done before this? It's a question directed to, where did he go? There you go, Mike.
hey, um, I, by the way, we have a kick-ass team. So I'm going to talk about them a little bit. I'll tell you a little bit about my background as well. But my co-founder, I think he's on here, Kevin Swin. He was a former head of global experiences at Airbnb. A lot of our investors actually come from Airbnb or Instagram. So we have a lot of folks who have worked on sort of these large-scale consumer products in the past that are either social or well-designed, around consumer experience. Um, and other co-founder, Gary Clayton, was also very involved with taking what I call like raw, very powerful technologies like speech recognition, machine learning, robotics, and making them human so that we can all take advantage of them. And so that concept of this really powerful technology that we're all working on, that we all love in the AI community, and being able to make it for any consumer to use. I think that's another part about Remix that I didn't mention, which is we wanted to focus on mobile, not because we know that everyone does their professional use on the desktop, and most of the tools are on desktop, but we wanted to bring this to a new audience that maybe is more consumer oriented, maybe more cultural versus tool oriented, and in that case make it really easy for people. And so we launched it on mobile. um, but my background before working on Remix, well, actually, I'm a big collector of AI art. So one of the things that I was so excited about when I was learning about generative art, started with generative art, but moved into AI generative art. All these amazing artists, Ada Crow, Anaconda, Rupia Renisto, Simon Rayon, Nuclear Samurai, AI Sam, all these people who are absolutely fantastic artists. They were experimenting with the engines about a year and a half ago, and they were coming with this like insane art. And I was so impressed by it. And then I saw the video was coming soon. And when we saw that kind of explosion of creativity from these early adopter artists, that's when we knew that this was going to be a new type of media. And so, um, you know, our whole team basically comes from a consumer background, and we're just excited about AI and think that basically AI is the next big shift. It's as big as the creation of the internet and probably will have the same kind of impact to our culture that the internet did. For good and bad, probably. There's a lot of things we'll have to manage on both sides, but I think the good part is amazing. So we're just excited to be involved with this.
Yeah, super interesting. I do feel that you kind of struck the nerve on what made many of us in here kind of like get started with generative AI in the first place, and why maybe we've been successful as well in terms of like growing audiences and having the ability to kind of do these things every week. Because like the whole part of like sharing and educating and also showcasing like this is how I did this, you can do it too. That is kind of the core principle of Remix, if I've understood everything correctly. That you can just like basically go in
Yeah.
and remix anything, and there's no gatekeeping. Like if I
Yeah.
want, I think that's perfect, and I think this has kind of been my mission from day one while I've been sharing stuff here. I've really hated the initial kind of like, and it's still going on, by the way, the gatekeeping from some people that are trying to protect their IP, and I have respect for that in some regards. But then I also think that we should just get as many people as possible versatile in these tools as fast as possible. I'm already seeing the divide between people that are using these tools and people that don't, and how drastically fast that divide is growing. And the people that are left behind on the other side, they're going to have a really hard time catching up. We can see it even now with the stuff that's going on, where if you don't use Runway for a few good months, right, then your head is going to explode the next time you open the app and you don't really know what to do. And now take that times 1,000 when it comes to just normal folks not having touched LLMs, not having touched generative AI, and then all the other people that have done it for a year and a half, 2 years, depending on if you were early with GANs or if you just started a few months ago. The most important thing we can do, I think, is to educate as many people as possible and bring down the barriers. So a social network like this, where the secret sauce behind how you did something is for anyone to see, just makes it so much more interesting. And I think you mentioned some numbers, and I think those numbers speaks for that. It's basically telling me that by just sharing those numbers, that there's something that hits home, and that people are engaged because it's natural and fun and playful. The whole thing that we're all doing here, like we're all sharing and we're all doing our thing, and we're all having a good time. And I think this is perfect. I just wanted to put that out there, and basically don't have any more questions. I just wanted to make sure that you got that
Thank
feedback.
you. Well, I want to share something else with you, though, that it's exactly what you're talking about. When we launched, um, you always choose like who you think you're launching to initially, who's your initial user base or persona of who you're building the product for. And we were assuming that AI creation might be a little early and it's very experimental, and thus the audience that we were launching for, the users, would be ones who are more experimental or early adopters. But what we learned after we launched was that there were what you might consider more mainstream people, in some cases, who aren't artists. They've never been able to create art before, but they have imaginations, and maybe they love art. They love curating art. They love going to museums. Maybe they even took art classes in the past, so they knew artists. But the point is that they just had something in them, and we're calling it the creative frustrated or the creatively underutilized. And this technology is opening them up, and they are becoming addicted to making art, and that's fantastic. Um, in fact, one of our team members, I think it was Kevin, my co-founder, said we're sort of the kitchen in the kitchen. We're like the refrigerator door that you can put your art up and do it without judgment, and just let people learn from it and enjoy it. And That said, by the way, there's some amazing stuff that's very professional on the platform already, and I'm every day I'm looking at the feed and saying, "Wow, the pros have showed up." Like it's no longer just the amateurs. Now we've got some pros in there who are making amazing things, like all of you basically. But let's see how this goes. I mean, I think the community is starting with enthusiasts, but I think we have a chance to unbundle creativity for everybody, and it'll be interesting to see how the mainstream basically adopts all this.
Well, I'll say too that I wanted to mention that one of the things that a lot of people, if you'll notice, if you just kind of search for the post about remix and you see the great work that's coming out of there. First of all, yeah, there's a lot of people that we know what we're doing on there, but and we might don't feel intimidated though because that the way he was saying how everybody's equal on there, and it is kind of like you're starting out. It's not like on X or Instagram or wherever everybody's equal, and I'm looking at um post from anybody at the same, we're all the same level and don't feel intimidated. And yeah, it is kind of like the kitchen refrigerator where you're more experimental. Plus you don't have to just only use remix, and people get caught up in thinking, well, no, I use Midjourney or Leonardo. You can use this also with it. So it's just like an outlet where we make all these things and we post them on here, and it kind of gets lost into the ether. But on there, we can post it and it's going to get shared and remixed, and it's just going to keep living on. And it's just a fun community. They have a great newsletter that comes out, and it's just a lot of different things where yeah, if you're looking around, and I'm seeing people who I've seen in my comments that are on there, and we're all on the same level, and I appreciate that where you can follow and go back and forth, but it's just such a nice community. But the details and another thing I would say, I'm so excited about Remix. I've been knowing about them and been talking with Scott and working since they were in a beta and test flight and everything. And as it came out, I just kind of kept watching, like, wow, oh my, all these people that I'm interacting with every day, and we're doing prompt mixes and different things. They're on Remix now too, so it's kind of like an extension of my family here and the people that we're all learning from each other and inspiring each other. But the support, the thing I've heard from all these people that were writing about Remix, and just and a lot of people, they're not paid sponsors. Some of us are, right? Because we are trying to get this word out. It's because they listen to feedback from the from the generative AI community, art community, and they're trying to add on different features and listening. And that's so important to be on the level playing ground with the founders. And thank you so much, and for trying to compensate artists and people who are taking the time to write detailed stuff. It's to teach everybody so you can understand what's available there. It's because there's a lot of great features that you don't know, but thank you for that. And that's why I think it was easy for people to jump onto the platform, because you could feel that it's very supportive, and then you're on there creating with us.
It's honestly, I don't watch as much Netflix anymore. I just sit here on the app and I, make things all night. Look at all the stuff you guys are making. My wife's looking at me like, what are you like? Are you on the app all? I mean, she loves it, of course, um, but I am on it a lot. We have, I think I mentioned this, we have like 40 minutes a day per user of usage, which is makes sense because they're creating so much. But it's also just fun to see everything that everyone else is making and learning from it. And um, I have to admit, though, like one of the phenomenons we see on the app is it's like you love your own stuff the most. To be like completely like, it's funny, like you show people off, you're like, hey, check this out, I just made this. And they're like laughing at you like, yeah, that's pretty good, but you think it's great. And so I think that's the idea about Remix, is that we all enjoy making something we can share with other people who support us, and then we can learn from other people. And if we do that, I think we can make a really fun experience.
Man, thank you so much. And did anybody have any questions else on the panel? I didn't mean to cut you off, Linus. I don't know if you were finished, but Rob, anyone?
All good. All good here. All good.
Well, thank you so much. And we do have there's a post up there at the top of the of here, and that it's just giving some examples of some of the images I made. But there's tons. If you look in the comments, I see everybody's dropping some beautiful work there. And please take the time to look at it, engage with those people, and just check it out. It's just something where it's just another outlet for us to have to deal with generative AI, and it's going to be really exciting to see what happens in the next coming weeks and months because everything is moving so fast, and I can't believe it's only been a month. It seems like it's been longer, but congratulations and thank you for a great tool for this community.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Heather, for having me on today.
I appreciate it, and I'm so glad that you were able to make it, and that everybody was able to kind of just try it out and see. Thank you, Chris, also for going on there so quickly, and even if it was just for a little bit. I mean, those little, it's the social credibility, and it adds a lot to it because people think, well, it's probably not for me. Why would I bother with that? So thank you for just checking it out to see because I was interested in your opinion, especially because you are an educator and I wanted to see what you thought.
Well, I spent, I guess, maybe 4 hours using it. I couldn't stop. Like, it's really really cool. Like, I'm making a tiny tutorial because few people, they just told me, they were like, "You're talking about it. We don't know what you talk about." And I was like, "Oh God, yeah. I need to make like a little demo." So I'm figuring out how to like record the screen of my phone because I've never done tutorials of any apps. But I think I'll figure it out and I'll post something today. Yeah, I'm like obsessed with it. I
So
don't
we're
know.
finding new ways to teach people, new ways to create tutorials too. Of that, who would have thought that? Although I wonder, Loom does have a the mobile app. I wonder if that would work.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe.
I just thought about that because I haven't used it much, but I just thought like that's cool to have it on your phone and you can record it. So I wonder, yeah, it might record your screen.
Yeah, I will figure something out. I think there are quite a few just like tiny apps on the thing. But yeah, I mean, as you can all probably guess, I'm not sponsored by Remix AI. I only learned about it. I love it. I think it's a great way for different creators who use different platforms, different mediums to just build new social presence, because I think it's super hard to grow on X or Twitter. It was very easy to grow last year when AI became like very kind of popular, but now there are just so many people writing about it that for small accounts it's really hard to grow. And this is a new platform, and it's always like people who start, they grow pretty fast. So another kind of reason to jump in quickly is that if you want to be like social media influencer, it's probably very easy to do now if you use a new platform.
Well,
Can I say something to that? I've been on this platform for almost 15 years and I was never an influencer. And I still can't believe the fact that some people think I am. So it can also happen very late. I just wanted to say that.
Well, people think you are an influencer because that's usually definition. If you have a lot of followers on a platform and people listen to what you say and kind of retweet stuff, it's
Yeah,
like
I'm just
people
saying that
assume you.
for like 15 years, I had like 2,000 followers and then
Yeah, yeah,
something
yes.
happened.
Actually, Linus, same. I had less than 1,000 until February this year. It just kind of skyrocketed with AI. But now I see people who just joined, and it's just too many people doing AI. It's very hard for new accounts to grow. They constantly kind of ask me how to grow, how to reach people, and I'm like, well, it's much harder now. You need some new trendy innovation that no one writes about. And with Remix, I can see it's like people are like in just one day I got like 100 new people. Probably some of them are just you, my real life friends, but I think it's great.
Well, I would say I am paid right now, but I hadn't been up until what, a day, couple days ago, and partly because I knew people who were writing and they have short contracts. This is a company. This app is free, but they're compensating, coming up with contracts that can help creators who are putting a lot of work out there, and they're putting some pretty complex tutorials and so much information that we would take us a long time to learn and to go for, finding these solutions and just seeing the different things that are possible. So thank you for someone to be able to make it worth their while they're doing what they love and sharing it with you all, because if you don't know about it, that's how are people going to know to follow you or even to check it out. So I thought it was worth it to come on, and I want to help promote it for just a short time, but I love the app, and if you believe in something, then you enjoy it, I wanted to share this with my audience. So I think there's a lot of value in there. So thank you for, again, we have to find a way so that there's a lot of tools, a lot of things that people DM me about to try and see. And, we try our best to look at as many things as possible, but there's just not enough time in the day. So to be able to say, hey, this is worth my while because it's giving me an opportunity to get transition away from my 9 to 5 so that I can do things like this all the time. And there are other people here that, their work is valuable, and I want to make sure we continue to boost that. I want their work to be seen so that we can learn new faces and give everybody a chance when we're talking about creating something different, because AI is saturated. But that these are the different things that we can do now that are kind of pushing boundaries and going into new areas. So everybody out there, please continue doing what you're doing, and just giving so much valuable information, to the community and sharing it willingly, and usually for no compensation at all. Thank you so much. And Michael, I really appreciate you spending so much time. Oh, we took an hour. I just realized it's been so fun talking to you. Thank you all. Thank you so much for spending this time, and you're welcome to stay while we get into the next segment here. But I think this was a really important conversation, and thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Everyone have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you. Man, it's so cool. It's so fun to hear these stories, and I just want to, again, thank everybody who came today. I appreciate it. Just show us, if you have hit the emojis there, and let us know if things are resonating with you. Please communicate with each other in the chat below. I might not see it, but other people are seeing it. And share your work. Share if you've been making GPTs. We're about to talk about that right now. Go ahead and put that in there. I just decided to start making another spreadsheet of GPTs that are really cool. Because
Can I just
why not?
add to Heather, guys, you guys don't go anywhere because we're about to get into like the meat of this conversation right now.
Yes.
The big updates that we were ranting and raving about right when we started this call.
Yes.
So yeah, I hope you guys find all these updates valuable, and feel free to share this because we're not going anywhere for at least probably the next hour. So
And I
back to
will
you,
say
Heather.
too, also that, for requests for the mic, we have right now, I only have so many, and I do have a great panel. Thank you all of the people who have mics right now. You keep them, because we're going to need to hear your voices for this next part. So I apologize. We may not be able to get to you. Don't take offense. Put a question in the comments there, and somebody is going to try to scroll through there and see if there is anything that we can address. And I want to welcome too also Brian Ramel is in the audience. And I just wanted to say you are welcome if you wanted to come up and speak, because of some of the things we're about to talk about relate to a lot of work you were going to do. But thank you for coming to spend some time with us today. But I will get into Linus. Do you want to talk about, if we start out with the GitHub and GitHub Copilot, and then we can spend the rest of the time get up in some of the other things, the prompt IDE, Grok, in
There's just like stuff all over. Okay, let's
Yeah.
just start like with the Copilot announcement.
Yes.
Where are we with that? So yeah, I mean, um, GitHub had their Universe conference was it 2 days ago now. I kind of lost track of time this week, to say this week, and they are continuing to push really hard into the world of AI. They kind of had this bold statement where they said that GitHub is now refounded on the premise of Copilot. They have 1 million paid users using Copilot, and they're pushing really hard to get like pretty much every developer in within their gated walls to kind of like go for Copilot. I think they mentioned some insane numbers that obviously it's marketing as well, but if it's true, then nothing should hold you back from using Copilot. The numbers were like 55% increase in productivity amongst the developers that are using Copilot, and I don't think that's fake, but I also wonder like other competitors like Cursor.so and what they are seeing with people using their tools and so forth. Um, but yeah, massive, massive push from GitHub, which is obviously owned by Microsoft, which obviously owns half of OpenAI. So like you can see, the real winner here in all of this is who's ever on the top, and that being Microsoft. So Microsoft has been trading at an all-time high on their stocks. It's just been Microsoft, 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 and yeah, that I think that's like all we need to touch on. I think with Copilot, if there's no one in the audience that wants to like go really deep on these like nerdy things in terms of development tools.
No, it is, but it
Um,
does sound like it'd be helpful too. So I'm glad to hear about it, and I'm sure people are taking advantage of it.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know what Copilot is, it's basically an AI inside of your IDE. So, like your IDE is like your development environment, so VS Code, for example, and it helps you program, it helps you code, it helps you with code completion, it helps you asking specific questions about specific parts of your code. And I think up until this announcement that they had this week, um, the way to think about it is like a luxurious autocomplete or like a somewhat knowledgeable helper. But what they pushed this week is kind of a more all encompassing AI that has access to all of your code base, your entire repo, can have access to external repos, and kind of really understand how your code is strung together on a much, much, much higher scale than previously possible. And I think we have like larger context windows and retrieval to kind of like thank for that. So like the same things that we're seeing in custom GPTs and in the assistance API from OpenAI, those things that enables us to upload larger documents and then query them and use them in work. That's essentially kind of what's currently also driving GitHub's kind of push with Copilot to be able to know more about your code base. So essentially kind of indexing everything and then using that for retrieval when you're coding. So that's super powerful. Like we're seeing some of the things that you now can do just, 10x faster or 10x more. And the speed at which these improvements are coming are also really hard to kind of just comprehend. Like if we got this year, then, next year, what's going to happen? Because nothing is slowing down, and we can all feel this, right? Like feels like this week in particular has been just absolutely mad again. Every day there's a big announcement from a big company that's been working their asses off for the past 6 to 12 months.
it's
So
not just not slowing down; it's speeding up, right? I
exactly,
think we're
Robbie,
actually
exactly.
we're seeing in real time some of these companies who, and it's obvious, or it's no coincidence that it is these AI companies that seem to be accelerating in how fast they can release new features. These are the people who probably have been using these tools from the get-go and really understand their use. And so, I mean, I'm not surprised that OpenAI is innovating so fast. And then we look at some other companies in other sectors, and that they don't seem to have released a new feature since like ChatGPT came out. We're seeing the effects it's almost like a case study, like a meta case study in the whole overall effects of what an organization can do when they take a sort of AI first approach.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I also think it's clear now that GPT-5 is definitely finished training. We just don't know about it because in March this year, when they released GPT-4, it was 7.5 months after the finished training of GPT-4 was done internally. And that pushes us like a year and a half ago, or even more, was the finishing date for the training for GPT-4. And pre training has been going on in multiple rounds from what I've heard, and that's not under an NDA. And given the fact that their pre-training is so good and they know so much from pre-training alone, I wouldn't be surprised that they're already kind of like working their asses off for like a March or April preview or something like that of whatever is coming next. It feels like they're just giving us a hint of what's coming now. So yeah, I mean, if we think things are gonna flatten out or plateau, then yeah, I think we're all wrong. It's just gonna go completely crazy from here on out.
That
Heather, do you want me to continue on?
well, I was going to say that takes us into it will take us into what our next topic was planned anyway with OpenAI, the announcements. And Rob, did you want to hit that from what we had discussed, the
Sure. Yeah.
industry influence?
I'm sure you guys have all been living under a rock and had no idea that something happened on Monday and some features were released and the world has once again changed. I think the biggest news of the week for me was GPTs and the announcement at OpenAI Dev Day about this new way to create a sort of a custom AI, a custom chatbot, whatever you want to call it, right there in their platform. Now they did have a few other announcements, right? Like with GPT-4 Turbo, 3 times faster, about half as costly as regular GPT-4 now in preview. Sort of summarizing, which I'm actually more excited about because GPT-4 is so expensive, and the new model having huge context window, right? Fit like an entire textbook in, or like multiple romance novels. I'm used to smaller books. Faster, cheaper, right? Awesome. Now we've got GPTs, and when GPTs are basically like you can now create a custom chatbot within OpenAI. It has access to the different models in OpenAI, including the data analysis model, the DALL-E 3, and plugins, as well as you can if you're a coder, you can create custom actions. But really, at the core, what they are is sort of like a chatbot. Now, this is what's really interesting about this to me, though. You've been able to make chatbots where you could chat with a PDF or a doc for months. And many of the features in GPTs are similar in that sense of like the bot has a prompt, it has a document store, and that's kind of how it operates. But they took it a step further, and I think it caught a lot of people's attention because they looked at some other pieces beyond this. Like a lot of people might like to create a chatbot, but they don't know how. So ChatGPT made their own chatbot to create chatbots. It's kind of funny, right? Like, and so it says, "Well, what do you want your chatbot to do?" And you say, "Oh, like, I made one this morning. I said, I want you to be a learning design specialist that helps online course creators organize their content, outline lessons, things like that." Because I'm working on some course modules right now, and I thought it'd be an interesting way to go. And now I'm a prompt engineer, and I could write the prompt for a chatbot that does that. I'd probably write a few paragraphs with lots of instructions and things. But regular people wouldn't know how to create a bot that could do all that learning design and so forth. And just by answering like 5 questions, it wrote the bot for me. The other piece that was interesting is that if you look in the GPTs while you're building them and you look at the configure tab, you can see at every step in your conversation of building it what it changes. And so you can kind of start to understand and you almost learn like what are the practices that are involved in creating a chatbot? Like how does this even work? And I think it's like it's a new way of learning via AI. It's a new way of accessing a tool that previously like didn't have an instruction manual, and now they're like, well, we're just going to help you build them on your own. So I think it's really cool in terms of uh, ChatGPT has features that you can't like get unless you're over there in ChatGPT, and now we can kind of give them to these chatbots, and they have new documents and threading and like all this stuff that's going to enable them to do it. And everyone's like, oh, they killed all the chat with your PDF startups, and so there's a whole thing there. So one of the things I thought it might be fun to talk about, and you guys tell me, um, if you're building startups, if you're creating companies, if you're creating services that are AI based, how do you think about competition when OpenAI can kill your startup just by releasing a feature that kind of invalidates it? So we could go down that path, or we could also just talk about chatbots in general, why this is so innovative, and I'm sure people want to share stories. And then I also have a kind of a contrarian take that it's actually not that innovative technology, but it's really important for a reason that you might not have thought of. So we can do that too. What do you think we should do, Heather?
Wait, I was typing something to someone in the so whatever you want, you pick your choice.
Okay,
I'm
no,
sorry.
we need to hear someone else's voice because my nasally drone gets boring. Taylor, what should we do? None of my co-hosts are helping me out here.
Yeah, no, I was actually talking to Sarah about who's this Michael. So I didn't even hear what the last couple words you said was.
All
So
right, let's go deep on chatbots. I
oh
want
wait,
to.
I am Emily. You want to pick because she had her hand up
She's
here.
got her hand up.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
not sure. I'm not sure if this is appropriate or not, but I just wanted to ask some questions because I'm struggling with the GPT.
Let's do it. I love it.
Yeah, what can you help me out? I mean, is that taking this away from like an actual conversation by me like being like I don't understand how this works exactly?
No, I
No,
think that
it's a good point to bring that up now because there's probably people in the audience right now who aren't really sure. So yeah, maybe we'll dial it back for a second and kind of go through that.
Okay, fabulous.
Yeah, no
Because
problem.
y'all know how I like to make an idiot myself and ask stupid
No,
questions.
that's not.
Um,
No, it's not
so
stupid.
no, I love it though. That's what I'm saying. So Rob, first of all, great to meet you. And second of all, so I was trying to make a GPT this morning, and I was working with the little chatbot, and there were two things that I was confused about or I was having trouble with, and I was wondering if anyone else had this issue. Was when I chatted to the bot that was like helping me create the GPT, it would, when it would rewrite something, because I would like ask it to change something like, oh, maybe that's not quite right. It would rewrite the prompt, but then it wouldn't include like any of the original stuff that I'd asked it. It would just take the thing that I asked to change and kind of like rewrite the whole prompt around that as if that one thing that I asked was the change. And so I wasn't sure if I was just doing something completely wrong, which is possible. Um, and if
no,
like anyone had any advice about that.
you were doing it completely right, but what you were coming up against was the limitations of interacting with a fairly simple AI chatbot to begin with to try and execute what in your mind was sort of clear in the conversation, but it wasn't clear to the chatbot based on however they've designed it. And this is actually something that I'm sort of passionate about, and maybe on the wrong side of the like the hype cycle on, which is I don't think that chat is always the best way, or chatting with an AI at today's capabilities is always the best way to design something, to build something, to do a task. A good friend of mine, Michael Sharp, who runs this company Magic ML that I use the tools all the time. I was debating with him the other day because he was like, I think in the future all interfaces are going to be like talking to an AI and telling it what to do. And I went back to him. I said, well, I have an Echo in my kitchen, and the only thing I use it for is to set timers while I'm cooking and to play music like this virtual speaker, right? It doesn't do anything for me that it's supposed to be able to do because it's not a good interface. Like it's just not like if you need to read a recipe, you'd rather look at it with your eyes than talk about it and try and remember what you heard. If you need to like get some information and you ask it a question and it starts to give you a bad answer, it's like the most annoying thing ever. Whereas if you opened up Wikipedia, you could skim really quickly, see what you need and go there. So like I think that there's Okay, so back to the task at hand. You're chatting with this bot that's been trained by OpenAI, and it's like the first version of it to sort of help you rewrite the prompts. And what it's doing on its back end is actually it's got its own prompts that it does. And its prompt says something like, and I'm guessing here, take the originals, or take the user's original prompt for their chatbot and rewrite it in the context of what they just said to you, right? And so it's doing that over and over again. And it's not very good at actually understanding that conversation. There's not a lot of those conversations in its training data. In fact, those conversations never existed before this product was released on Monday, except in training. So that it doesn't even have a lot of reference to go off of. And so we're kind of coming up against the stress test of like, here we are entering into this new world. And yeah, wouldn't it be cool if an AI just did everything for you that you wanted? And realizing that's actually a complicated, nuanced communication that needs to take place. So I think this is where instead of saying like, hey, make this edit, you want to open up that configure tab and take a look and go, I can write a sentence that describes the thing that I'm trying to do. Or like you're going to have to take some more control over it. And I think that um, this is where this trend is going to get so interesting to me, is because I think it's another moment where people are going to try OpenAI again, try GPTs, try AI, and go, not very good. Like it didn't do what I asked, which is what everyone was saying like last year when they started trying Chat GPT, but they didn't know how to prompt and they were just like writing random sentences and their results weren't very good. And it's like there's an art and a science, and there's just a lot of unknowns here. Um, and so I think that the impact that this trend is going to have, and we can talk more about any troubles that you had in the second Amelie, but the impact that it's going to have is exposing AI agents to more people, or whatever we want to call them, assistants, GPTs, chatbots. More people are going to become aware, and I think that, and some people are going to become fascinated. And if you go rabbit hole down that, you may really have a good time. So, and people on this call probably really have a good time. But the general public is going to go in there and have the experience that you had. And they're going to be like, it didn't do what I told it to do. This technology sucks. It's not here. It's all hype. Like, it's not very good. And so that's the moment that I kind of see. I think even we're getting even further into this interesting hype cycle where AI people are going to go, yay! And the general public is going to go, I
That's a
don't think
good
it's there.
point. It was like that too. And AP, go ahead. Because you did. He has an epic GPT. I'm looking at right now. My goodness, but go ahead and add in what you were going to talk about.
Yeah, first off, how's it going, everybody? So I think you can think of the custom GPTs as having three core components. The first one is, the chat interface, whatever the custom instructions you call it, right? Like how we'll just call them custom instructions. The next part is like the function calling. So that's going to be how it interacts with APIs, with Dolly, all these other stuff. And then the third thing is the added context that you can give it by uploading a PDF, attaching a text file, anything like that, right? So you when building out your custom GPTs, you want to make sure that like each three thing you're doing appropriately, right? So like in the context, I'm not really sure what your end goal was, or what are you trying to do right now, like with your custom GPT?
Are you asking me? Okay, so I was trying to make a GPT that would help create prompts for basically Splash Music, that and like based on terminology that like the prompts had. So I had like a PDF of like all of like our terminology, and then some PDFs of like basic music terminology and music theory and stuff like that. And I wanted it to be able to help people craft like good prompts for people who didn't know anything about music, basically. So that was my end goal.
Cool. Yeah. So I think that's maybe I can talk a bit about like the Dungeon Master GPT that I made, and then I think I can tie that into how you could use some of the things I did for your thing. So with the Dungeon Master GPT, I essentially gave it like custom instructions. It's pinned up, by the way. Thank you, Salma. So I gave it custom instructions for how to play Dungeons and Dragons, 5th edition, right? And I told it like how it should interact with the user. And then what I did was I initially had a PDF of like the Dungeons and Dragons rule set. It was like 80 pages long. But what I ended up figuring out was that it takes too long for the ChatGPT bot to like go through all 80 pages. So what I ended up figuring out is you can upload it as a .txt file and use the code interpreter, enable that function on your custom GPT, and it'll be able to parse through like a lot faster. And you can ask if you want to like take it a step further, you can use the .txt, convert the PDF to .txt. But if you want to take it a step further, make the .txt into a JSON. You can ask ChatGPT, GPT-4 to do this for you, and it makes the code interpreter do it like way faster. So that's essentially what I did with the Dungeon Master GPT. I gave it the custom instructions. Hey, use Dolly to make images in the game. You want to do this? Use a dice with 20 sides. And then I included the JSON of like the character creations as a .txt file. So now when it goes through like and you're playing the game, it goes through really fast, right? As opposed to when I first tried it out with the PDF, it was like really long because it would, ChatGPT would look through the entire PDF for the nearest sentence or however they do it in terms of their vectors, stores, and all that, right? So in your case, give it the custom instructions that you think is fit, and then upload that .txt file. I would do it initially just as a .txt. Don't do the JSON conversion, and just kind of experiment with it that way. And then, yeah, I mean, you could probably even configure it to have an API configuration to your service, right? Where it'll like, oh, make a song with this or whatever, and you could do that as promotion. Um, but yeah, I think like initially, if you want to do like prompts for your thing, definitely the custom instructions with like a custom .txt file is the way to go, especially if you have the existing, prompt handbook ready to go. So yeah, those are my 2 cents in my experience from building those kind of things.
Let me
Thanks, guys.
underline the document thing, because I think this is huge, and this is actually a spot where a lot of people are going to get stuck. When someone says, hey, you can just upload your documents and the AI will like interpret them and understand them, that sounds really cool and really magical. But in my experience, if you upload unstructured, poorly formatted like a doc with just whatever, the results are, hit and miss. But if you somehow pre-process that document in some way, like in every system is a little bit different in terms of like, in this case, the text file is superior to the PDF file, which makes sense. It doesn't have to kind of like break it apart and reformat it or whatever. But like you start to learn, oh, a document that's in markdown formatting, or a document that's separated like into a JSON library, like there's all these little tricks like that I think regular people don't know, and that we don't even know as an industry necessarily. And this is where like a lot of people are going to get stuck, because it's like, oh, the trick was code interpreter in a text file. Like, who would have guessed that on their own? you know
Yeah, I think
When
another limit. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say also when this is another question is when you're incorporating the documents, how does it know like how to utilize them? Is that something you have to like write in the prompt? Like in like this document that I've incorporated is a list of words that you should include in said prompts that you give. Like, can it understand that, or is that asking way too much?
Yeah, I think it does understand that, but again, like this is the difficulty of the fact that it's like a closed source system, because we don't necessarily know how it works, right? We can kind of just guess and infer and trial and error, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But I think just tell it like, hey, it's formatted this way. You're gonna look for this stuff, and so the way that it works though is with retrieval augmented generation, but the mechanism in which it conducts that, we don't know. There's like different methods where there's like sentence similarity. They use like chunking. We don't really know what OpenAI is doing on the back end for the retrieval augmented generation, but like just for now, I would, yeah, just give it the context of what it is, how it's formatted, and like what you want it to look for when the user prompts.
I would even give the opposite point of view here, which is that I think that you can count on whatever data it pulls in from your document as being a chunk of data, but you can't necessarily know what additional context about that data the AI is pulling down, and it may very well be underwhelming. So, for example, it may not know, like you could say, hey, I've uploaded some data about musical terminology, but the chunk that you get may not say this is data about musical terminology anywhere in it. It just may be a list of musical terms. And one of the ways around this is in the prompt, and this you'll probably have to write by hand because the auto agent isn't going to probably help you with this. You might say, like, you will be provided these 3 documents. a document of musical terms, a document of this, a document of that, and you will get excerpts from these documents, and that might actually allow it, if it's not getting the context from the metadata in the document retrieval, it might be able to figure it out, because at least now you've given it extra context in your prompt. So knowing that there's a difference between the conversation that you had with the agent creator and the actual configuration of your agent, which doesn't include that conversation, or I would expect it to probably not include that conversation. So anything that's not actually written in there somewhere isn't getting known by the GPT.
Awesome. And I assume it would also probably help within whatever document you're adding to incorporate that sort of language in there, as in at the top of the document, it just says, this is a document about so and so, so that it knows when you ask it in the prompt, that it knows that that's the thing. Because it's not necessarily going to read the file name or something, right?
Right. And, although it depends on how their system is built. So their system may, like a simply built system would only pull that sentence in the event of grabbing the chunk at the top of the document, but could still grab a chunk at the bottom of the document and not have that meaning inferred anywhere. A smarter system would first pre-process the document and say, what is this about? Tag it, give me a bunch of metadata on it, fill in a metadata profile about the doc itself. And then as it was chunking, it would include that metadata about itself. And I would imagine OpenAI is smart enough to do something kind of like this. But so I'm giving this advice a little bit for people who are using not this OpenAI GPT, but they're building chatbots with docs. Don't assume necessarily that it's understanding the document. Assume more that it's breaking it down. And if you were really going to go, let's say you had a chance to make $100,000 on this chatbot, and it was worth it to you to put effort into it, you might go section by section and add little annotations in there, or add little tags or little things, little extra things. So you might say, every 1,000 characters include some other information, or in every section include some information about what that information is and how it can be used. If it was super important to you to convey that to the AI. And I actually think that this is going to be, in the next year, one of the major breakthroughs we get is document processing or pre-processing for retrieval. And I've even got some of my personal pipelines and stuff for doing this using prompt engineering. You can take a doc and give a prompt that says reformat this as a markdown and tag every section with metadata, and you can do this kind of stuff in Claude and GPT and things like that. But it's a little bit painful to do right now, and I think someone's probably going to solve it in a more automated way.
Oh, another thing I was going to mention was that whenever you have the configure tab open, or not the configure, the one to the left, and you're chatting with it, it'll completely rewrite your custom instructions too. So always, the way I like to do it is, as was mentioned earlier, is not necessarily just chatting to it, but sort of writing the custom instructions out yourself, and then editing it that way and saving it down in another tab. Because yeah, once you start chatting with the thing, it's gonna rewrite it to whatever OpenAI wants or thinks is the optimal way, and it might not be the way that you want it. So that's why the chatting interface with the configuring it just is sometimes a little buggy and doesn't get the best results.
Yeah, it'll rewrite the whole thing if you even if ask it to do something kind of different. We were saying that before, yeah.
Yeah, it's destructive. It's not even clear to me whether it saves the old version, and whether you could even say hey, undo those changes, and it would necessarily know what it just did. Hopefully they built that in, but you could do damage to your prompt at a certain point by talking to the bot. So I would say have that conversation, get that base down, and then maybe consider either copying the prompt, an early version, and saving it off somewhere, or moving to tweaking by hand, because I don't like it when the tools change things without asking.
I actually ended up using a blog by, I think it's One Small Thing, who had talked about using how to make a structured prompt. And I just went to regular ChatGPT and basically fed it that, and then went through a bunch of stuff asking it there, and then had a structured prompt that then I just took and put into the configure, because the chat, as I said before, had kept rewriting it, and I thought I was doing something wrong with him there, but I guess that's just the way that it is.
It'll get better. So
Yeah, I think
really,
it
really
waits for a
cool.
second. It like kind of if you don't answer it right away, because I had that happen where I went and said, "Go back and change what I just said," and it was like, "Sure," and it updated, but then it was still the same. So it's like almost, and while I was still typing another prompt or another command, it started redoing it again. So I think it's like maybe it waits a certain amount of time, and if it doesn't get a response back, it just automatically starts, like you said, doing what it wants to do in the meantime.
Yeah, so here's how I think everyone should be thinking about chatbots overall as part of their like personal life improvement strategy. A chatbot in as a GPT as we've talked about here is essentially like priming a model with a really nice prompt with a data set and with some things turned on and some things turned off if you have code interpreter and stuff. It's priming it into a state that it's like you can get it back to over and over again really easily. And so if there's a type of conversation you have or a type of prompt that you often run or anything like that, you can create yourself or find for yourself a GPT that is sort of primed into the subject matter area, the conversation style, all the things that you want, and maybe already has the data uploaded. It's not all that different from going into ChatGPT and just writing a bunch of stuff and starting a conversation and uploading a doc. But because it's saved, you get to do it over and over again. The other thing that you can really use this for is if you're not great at prompting or you want to improve your prompting, you can see, well, what do the prompt engineers at OpenAI think a prompt for a chatbot should look like? And maybe can I learn something about prompting in general from like looking inside the configure tab and seeing how these things are constructed. And so there's an opportunity there for you to describe in plain language and then see what their bot sort of produces. If I was going to guess as to why they produced this, oh, and we should talk about monetization and making money on this stuff, Heather. Remind me about that. Okay, if I was going to guess why they put this feature out, I think that they want to see what people want to create bots for so that they can kind of like train the next generation of AIs to be better at what the users want. And I don't think that they really care so much. Okay, I'm now I'm being mean. Like I think that it's a data gathering exercise in many ways. And in fact, if you look in the advanced options on these these GPTs, the only advanced option which is hidden unless you open it is, do you want to share conversations with your GPTs with OpenAI to like help train future models? I think it's another way for them to get real specific about what users are trying to do, how they think these things work, and so forth. Which takes me to monetization. A lot of hype around the new marketplace for GPTs. Well, let me ask you this. If creating a GPT, a custom GPT, is as easy as answering 5 questions and maybe uploading a document, then won't anyone think that they can do it and for whatever specific purpose that they need? So if you're thinking like, oh, I want to go make $1 million creating GPTs, I want you to think about other marketplaces that you've seen before. Like, let's take Amazon. I'm a publisher on Amazon Kindle. I have 47 titles self-published. Some of them have been #1 in certain categories. And I will tell you, nobody cares about what you publish into a marketplace unless you manage to do something external to that marketplace to draw attention to it so that it ranks up, or you already have a top spot and then you maintain the top spot because people just look at like the top 50 books and then they choose one of those. They don't scroll to like the 7,000th book and find yours. You have to already be in the top 50. So if you're thinking about creating GPTs, ask yourself, can I externally drive interest in this GPT so it gets more like views, whatever uses, and then it makes it further up in the marketplace? Or B, do I expect to be so far ahead of everybody else that it'll be like one of the 50 bots that gets showcased? Like everything else is going to be almost equally invisible. If that's not the case, I would say don't look at something like this as a way to make money from the marketplace, but you still might make some GPTs, A, to help yourself, B, for your customers that have like information that you believe is the best information or methodologies that you believe are the best methodologies, like things you can give to your customer, your client, your whoever. Um, And or C, if you are thinking about putting it in the marketplace, use it like a lead magnet and use it as a way to demonstrate, hey, I'm an expert in this. I have a GPT that knows some of my expertise. But if you really want help with this problem, come get my service, buy my product, like read my newsletter, whatever it is. Like I'm warning against the hype a little bit on this. I think that a lot of people are going to be underwhelmed when they make like 12 cents from their GPTs that they spent 80 hours producing. So that's kind of my hot take on that one.
I appreciate that because I was talking about that earlier, earlier this week.
Go ahead, Sana. Ali.
I just wanted to add along the same lines that one of the other things to consider if you're thinking and buying into this hype and thinking that you will create something for the market is it really useful? I am seeing a lot of stuff already being thrown out, but at the end of the day, I don't really know if they're going to be that useful and who would actually then pay for it. And then also how much. So it seems like it's the hype train, but it may die down because at the end of the day, it doesn't provide enough value. I agree with you, Rob, that if you're creating it for example, your customers or your clients or for something that you are already doing anyway, that could be insanely useful. And specifically also, for example, if it's an extension of you or your services. So that would be something to also to consider. But then the other thing, and I just saw somebody else post about this too, and this was in my mind too, is that the other thing to really think about here is that when you are creating something as a custom GPT, can you do the same thing really with ChatGPT? And then it goes back to the usefulness, but really, if you can do the same thing, then what's the point of creating a custom one? So that's just my kind of two added points there.
Did you want to talk about your experience so far, Ali? Since you're talking, I think it'd be a good time. What you built, Ali? Okay.
I can pop in, Heather, for a second.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
wanted to just like add a couple things as well, which is like the confirmation is validating that, when we talk about these GPTs, like there's no one way, absolute best practice gospel truth of how to train these things. And sorry, I've got a toddler with me, so I might have to mute myself soon. But so it's good to know that, because I've been playing around with it the last couple days and really trying to figure out like what is it that works and what doesn't. And so some of the tips that you shared, Rob, on like the structured data, I think definitely really helps. I took notes on that. But I'm curious how you guys are using it, or what you're building, or what you're using it or even experimenting with personally. One of the big things that I'm using it for right now is just trying to replicate my voice style and structure and formatting of like my weekly newsletters that I put out to help, creators and solopreneurs understand what's going on in this space. So if I can create a sort of an autonomous agent that'll help me do that through ChatGPT, through these GPTs, that's kind of how I'm using it right now. So I'll pin it up here at the top. But yeah, that's kind of my blueprint one that I'm really like using as the experiment and the control for this experiment. So I'm gonna keep building on it and trying to figure out what works and take some tips from this conversation into it as I keep playing with it next week. But would love to hear what you guys are doing with it.
Salma, did you want to talk about what you're doing?
Yeah, I haven't really trained custom GPT yet, but I'm going to try and experiment some. I was speaking with Tyler earlier on about potentially training a custom GPT model to understand and analyze my style of, I guess, like creating images, product images, background scenes, stuff like that. But yeah, I haven't really. I've messed around with it a little bit last night, but I think I'm gonna give it another go over the weekend.
Well,
One of the things that
oh, go ahead, Taylor.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add one of the things, because Sam and I were talking about this earlier. And one of the things that I think is interesting is it's almost like, you know, how Midjourney a couple of weeks ago dropped the style the new where you can kind of like fine tune with a style code. So it's like if to translate that like for creatives that a lot of the creatives that I work with, it's like if there's a campaign and you're already doing generative imagery with Midjourney and you have your style code, you can kind of think of like a custom GPT as almost being like your style code, but for the creative campaign assets and for like the planning, and the kind of like the strategic concepting beyond just the imagery. So that's kind of how I was explaining it to people. So it'd be interesting to put in like an entire advertising campaign, and train the GPT just on that one campaign so that every output you're getting is like directly strategically tied to the overall campaign. And then, using in tandem with that, like Midjourney that has the style code around the creative style that you're trying to get. So that's just kind of one idea that we were chatting about.
That's helpful. Allie, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you
Yeah,
now. You
please.
just disappeared and vanished.
No, I thought I was losing it. No, go ahead. You want to talk about yours?
Yeah, so I decided that I wanted to start super small. And of course, I was always the one agonizing that I just got access yesterday. So I haven't had a lot of time to work on different things yet. But the reason why wanted to start super small is that I want to have more control over it before it gets out of hand. And then I have to try to plug into pieces that where I might need to do some fixing and tweaking and learning as I go and build this. So what I decided to do, and this is really, so I'm not only in the AI space, but I also have a marketing agency. So I'm kind of splitting my time on the two. So one of the things that my customers need is a lot of SEO type of information. And one of the easiest things that I could think about doing is creating a SEO meta description generator. And for some reason, ChatGPT said, well, how about we call it SEO Scribe? I'm like, okay, sure, no problem. And again, we could argue about whether it's actually super useful or not, but this is something that I hear people struggle a lot. And of course, I can type these, but it also takes me time. And certainly, this is where I'm also thinking about the usefulness. How useful is it? You could actually ask it still from ChatGPT, or you can use it in other things like Yoast SEO or other things like that, meaning there are already tools that if you pay for them, they will generate you specific SEO descriptions. I wanted to just test it as a small sampling of what's possible, and then I can expand from there. So what I wanted to do also is I wanted to do have ChatGPT give me 3 options and keep it to the point, no fluff. That's probably one of my things that I tell ChatGPT all the time. No fluff. I don't want any extra stuff. Just keep it simple, straight to the point. That's how I like it. So it did a really good job. I ran into a bit in the same situation as Emily was saying about how then it kind of didn't actually follow through as I was adding in the steps. So I just basically reframed it and said the initial things so basically I kept on adjusting it a bit because I also wanted to incorporate keywords in it, because I thought that was important. And instead of just thinking that the person would know what the keywords are, I wanted ChatGPT to pull the keywords from what people ask. So for example, I know this can get kind of, into the weeds, but just briefly, so the whole prompt would be create a meta description for, and then you could say article about XYZ. So ChatGPT would recognize what the keywords are and then say, I see these other keywords. Are these the ones that you'd want to focus on? And then you can say yes. And when it does that, then it will incorporate those keywords into those descriptions. And it gives you 3 that you can choose which one you like, or you can obviously tweak them, or you can ask it to generate more. But I thought 3 was a good number, and he actually did a pretty good job. And the reason why I didn't want to release it yet for anybody, and I do want to have people test it. And again, I don't actually know if it's going to be that super useful, but it was just something of a smaller sample of things that I can control more. But the few runs that I did, it seemed to do a pretty good job. So there's that.
That would be so helpful too, because I hate that. I always struggle with that, and that's the last thing I do before I publish the newsletter or articles on Medium, is that SEO keywords and the description and title. AP, go ahead. Or go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, Ali. You can answer.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that so basically then the extension of this would be that you add it to the whole article or whatever. So you could do a lot more of it, but basically one of the things that, this is what clients come to the expert for. But creating, just like you said, these descriptions take a lot of time, and it's, you have to try to think of different ways and whatever. And certainly when you've done it for a long time, you can do it fairly quickly, but still it's just kind of you have to maybe spend 5 minutes, but what if you can only do it in 30 seconds or whatever? So it could save time, and potentially you can bulk do that as well. And then eventually, or I'm sure it probably is already available too, is you could actually then hook it up so that it does it automatically to wherever you're posting, right? So that you are not actually, you just say generate these and then send it over.
That would be such a dream too, even if it saved 5 or 10 minutes. Like that's time that I could have back in my day.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most powerful things I think about these custom GPTs is the ability to hook it up with APIs, right? Like where you could, I'm not sure how you would do it, maybe like send an email in that case, right? And with the Google Gmail API or something like that. But one of the most impressive probably GPTs that I've seen so far is the Designer GPT by Pietro. So this one's really insane because it connects like directly with Replit. So you ask it, hey, I want to make a front end for XYZ, and it goes and then it hosts that directly on Replit, right? So I think that's where the differentiator is really going to be with these GPTs, right? Like anybody can, kind of prompt the GPT or write custom instructions, upload a document of like, the Dungeons and Dragons thing that I made. I did that like in 2 hours, right? Like, but the deep knowledge and the like niche finding of like something to solve like Designer GPT, I think is really where some of these things are really going to shine and where there's a lot of opportunity.
Well, thank you, Linus. I think you're about to leave, but I wanted to see. Did you want to just say a couple words about all GPT?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm super excited about this, and I think it's been mentioned already a few times. Um, the fact that like this is kind of like the next frontier, like custom instructions on steroids, and I I I just think we haven't seen nothing yet, and yet we're seeing so much at the same time. I think what AP said is also true. Like the true moat will be when these custom GPTs are having a little bit more specific domain knowledge that's not easy to replicate with inside um, ChatGPT or OpenAI, like adding stuff from the outside and stringing things together. I think it's the same that applies to all the AI companies that have been popping up that are using OpenAI as like their brain. Moat comes when you can construct things that holds value that is not easily to replicate or that's not easily to just, that's why the wrappers are kind of dying. Or like where there are, a dime to the dozen of the PDF chats. And they're not going to survive all of them. Some will, even if you can chat to PDF inside of ChatGPT. Because I think Rob said it as well, like the chat interface is not always the best interface. And it's funny because now we're building these GPTs and they're all chat interfaces. But there are so many things that I think people will build with the GPT that they're then going to realize that, holy schmoly, I can take this, I can tweak it, turn it into a proper app with proper UI, a proper experience that will be 100 times better than what I can do in a chat interface. So I think it's in many ways, OpenAI is doing a very cool thing here where they're allowing anyone to build these things using natural language. But at the same time, they're also giving everyone a playground to kind of, in very simple ways, create very powerful problem solvers that then could turn into even more powerful software. So I think we said this all out through the year that like the more tools we're going to get, the more things we're going to create, and the more market opportunities there will be because the pie continues to grow in size. Um, Even rappers are still a thing. They are going to survive. I talked to the founder, Jenny, a few months ago, and they're doing great. They're doing really good, even. They're not just doing great, they're just like still, it's a writing tool built on top of, the GPT-4 API, but they're doing great because of the experience, because of the brand that they're building, because of the moat that they're having outside of the brain that they connect with GPT-4. And their success, I think, will be replicatable for a lot of people building their own custom GPTs, whether or not it's short term now or long term, being able to take it and grow it and foster it over a longer period of time. And then I want to add this one small thing as well. It's like custom instructions have been really nice, but you can only have one custom instruction. And now with the opportunity of making your own GPTs, you can have 10, 15, 20 of the most regular things that you do and hyper tune them for every single use case. So like if you're doing a lot of X, then you have a GPT that only you use for that. That you have no intent of publishing it. And it just supercharges your workflows. And there's no point in like saving a cheat sheet of here are my super prompts. Like I don't need that anymore. I'll just fine tune my workflows, have them there, and then use them whenever I need them. So it helps us, it helps you, it helps people to become more proactive and more productive as well. That's my 5 cents.
Well, I did want to see Pietro. You just mentioned him. I think he's here. So if you want to speak about your product, please
Give
let.
him the mic,
Yeah.
Piotr.
I
Give
don't
him the
see you, but
mic.
thank you, Amar. Good looking out for letting me know. But since you just spoke about him, Pietro, just request the mic, and we'll get you on the mic. Okay. Oh, you are. There we go. Perfect. And thank you. Go ahead. Welcome. Thank you, Pietro. You can go ahead. Um, I don't know if you heard what Linus was
Yeah,
saying a minute ago.
yeah, totally. I mean, I perfectly agree with Linus. I feel like we're literally living this like golden age now of like generative AI, but also like from a developer perspective, I think like this is like super interesting because I tweet this I think 6 to 7 hours ago, and I think there's like 800 people already using this bot, which is kind of crazy when you think in perspective, right? I feel like the distribution that you get, and honestly, all it takes now is a good idea. Like I truly programmed this completely via text, just like speaking to the GPT builder. And of course, like I had a lot of work done before in this space because I had a plugin that basically used to do the same thing. Um, One thing that I'm excited, honestly, is that basically right now I feel like they're a little less powerful than plugins. Like I feel like plugins are a little smarter, are combining different action than this. But of course, it's just like it's so new and like completely uncharted territory. So I'm just like excited to see where this go. But they're just like extremely powerful. Like truly, like if you have a good idea and you want to build something cool, there's never been a better time in history, I think, to do so. So.
Thank you. And I apologize. I was typing a few things. Go ahead, AP and Taylor. Whoever wants to speak. I don't want to.
So you did it purely with instructions, like the configure tab? Because when I was trying it, I didn't have much luck. So I'm curious, like how that went for you.
Well, yeah. So because I'm connecting to an external server, so the way it works basically, GPT generates the website, and the structure of the website is actually in the instruction itself. So the reason why every website is consistent and has this like sort of like the same design is because I was very specific about the look that I wanted this to have. But then basically, I'm also using actions to basically do an API call, and so serving the website into the external server, which is hosted on Replicate. And so in a way, like actions are basically like function. Like it's if you've experimented with function calling before or plugins, is the same exact thing. And so that's why before I was saying like it was kind of easy for me to do this because I already had the code for the plugins, and literally all I had to do was like copy pasting the schema into the action, and it just worked. And I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, was specifically about the actions and what you're using from that and the schema. So that answered my question. I do have kind of a dumb question though. I don't know if it's possible, but you mentioned that you know how many users are already using the GPT. Is there a way to see that number in the
Yeah, so
configuration page?
yeah, so if you go into the Explore tab into your Chat GPT, and you see all the bots that you're already interacting with, it will tell you how many people are using this GPT. There's like a little number next
Oh
to the
my God,
name.
that's so helpful. I thought that I saw something like that and I was looking for it everywhere. And
Yeah,
it's
me
like, I
too.
was going to ask this group.
Me too. I lost
I
it
Thank you
saw
for
today.
that
Yeah,
too,
that.
but I thought it was myself.
it's
That was my own uses, so I wasn't sure.
yeah,
But thank you.
it's a little hidden. Yeah, I lost it today too, and I was like, I don't know where to go, and then I found it again. Yeah.
That is so cool. I have it up right now, so I was kind of looking at it while you were speaking, Pietro. And Crystal, did you want to add something? Have you been? Did you create something, or did you have a question for Pietro?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add that I did. I was up last night for a few hours working with, the GPTs and the custom GPTs. And I just wanted to share with the audience that it is very, very user friendly. It is one of the easiest AI tools I've ever used. And I would disagree with Rob's take not to listen to the hype. Listen to the hype about monetization and the marketplace, because if you get in there now and learn how to create custom GPTs now, and when I say learn, it's really a matter of follow instructions and answer questions, because they've made it so, so easy for you. And if you get in there now and create something, amazing that is unique to you, I believe that every single person in here is uniquely positioned to solve problems for people, because we all have our skills, we all have our experiences. And the reason I'm so passionate about this and I really wanted to come up on stage is because I created a prompt at the beginning of AIPRM when there were only a couple hundred users on there. Right now there is still like 99% of the world that hasn't even tried ChatGPT yet. So it's just a massive opportunity for anyone who's here, anyone who knows about this. Please, please, please go do this. Go create your custom GPT. Don't let anybody tell you it's difficult or challenging or not to believe the hype, because we're all so lucky and blessed to be here and even know about this and have access to this technology. And if you get in there and practice it now, when that marketplace comes out, yours will be one of the first there. And again, it's first to market. Like, it's an amazing opportunity. So I just wanted to come up and encourage everyone. I've created a couple. They're super easy to make. I did a live earlier where we built one together in my room earlier, and we did it in just a few minutes. So I love it. I'm super excited about it. It's like, I feel like it's Chat GPT all over again, when I first discovered it earlier this year, and now it's coming back. And so, yeah, I just want to encourage everyone, use all parts of it, upload data, upload PDFs, re-upload the images that it gives you, and then ask questions about it. Use it, use it, use it. Press the buttons, you won't break it. And then make all the money that you possibly can with it and go out there and just solve the world's problems.
But also, don't feel bad when it's not easy for you. and
Exactly. Exactly. I
What would
spent
make it
six
not
hours on
easy
this.
for someone?
it has not been easy for me, so I've been struggling with it. We had a whole hour talking about that and going through troubleshooting. So I don't know, but don't feel bad. You're not alone. It was
Yeah,
at
no,
I
least me.
nobody should feel bad. It's more that I want to encourage the other way around, because I sit in spaces a lot, and it's like sometimes just what I'm hearing as an educator, if I were in the audience, I would feel like this is really difficult. So, yes, absolutely. Never feel bad if something's not easy for you. That's the opposite of what I want. It's more so that I want to empower and encourage you to go in there and try, and then come back to this space where you have amazing people here like Heather and Rob that are ready to answer your questions and ready to get in there with you. I just want to encourage people to go in and try it, because I've heard so many people say, like, I'm not a developer, I'm not this, I'm not that. And it's like, trust me, they've made it so that if you can answer the questions, it's easy to do it. Now, is it easy to get the exact outcome that you want? Maybe not. But I want everyone to know that it is easy to get in there and press the button and answer the questions and at least get that initial custom GPT. And then from there, again, keep coming back to this space and learning and, and building and growing.
That's such a great idea. So you said you have the space where you built the GPTs during your space?
Yeah, because I realize people need to see it. I mean, so many people haven't even tried ChatGPT, let alone, getting into ChatGPT 4 and using custom GPTs. And I'm thinking, as an educator, as a teacher, and remember, I was a special education teacher. So I'm like, I'm really aiming towards the people that feel like they are just not smart enough to do this. So I said, let me show you, let me just let's demystify the process. Let me share my screen and let's build this together. And what I would say to anyone who wants to do this, if you're wondering where to start, solve a problem. Solve a problem that if you had your own custom GPTs, you would use multiple times a day because like Ali was talking about, SEO and websites. And if that's something that you need, then do that. And then it's going to be so much easier for you to be able to provide that custom GPT to your community, to your clients, because if you have the problem, chances are they do too. So that's where I would start, is finding a problem to solve.
That's a good point. Last night, I wasn't sure what to do. My first GPT, I ended up just making. I had been trying to go over different prompts for action scenes, and I was trying to come up with random cars to use in different scenarios. For me, that was a problem that I wanted to solve. And yes, I could have. I had different questions going for ChatGPT, but I had to keep going back and forth between ChatGPT and Dolly and and just getting an idea of how it would look. So I decided to do that. And it was actually, as I went along, I started thinking of more and more things that I could add to it. So it does so many things I kind of forgot. And as you go in, I don't really have much explanation for it, but as you go in, it can give you scenarios. It can give you a list of cars. It can give you a list of prompts. It can give you ideas of what's a car that you can use for what's a car that's commonly used in film bank heist. What are some of the make and models? Or it can give you a generic one. It can give you motorcycles. But just thinking like, wow, and as I went, I'm like thinking, oh, well, I could do this for, different types of prompts that I work on or different types of action scenes. How do I get that motion blur in there? So it's, yes, you could do all that on Dolly already, but it'll also say, would you like to see an example of that? And sure, but you can't generate that many images in Dolly. So I dropped that into Midjourney or Bing or somewhere else. So that was a really cool thing for me to do. And it was my problem that I saw. It doesn't have to be a problem that's going to save the world. It just could be a problem that helps you in that moment. Linus, you got your hand up. Please, I know you have to run soon, so go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say goodbye. I just be polite this time and not just drop off and disappear. I just want to say thank you, and thank you again, Heather, for doing these, and thank you for having me on the panel. I feel like I'm a fixed installation on the panel by this
Well,
stage.
yes, you are. Thank you for
I,
coming. And
yeah,
I know how tired you are, and you did have a long week. So I thank you so much for hanging on with us in the middle of the night.
yeah,
So
no, no worries, appreciate it. Yeah, it was a good week, and I'll be back next week. And thank you everyone for listening. I see so many familiar faces. I know you guys show up. You are as important and as us who are speaking, and I like to see more people come up on stage in the future as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and have a wonderful day wherever you are.
absolutely. And I want to tell everybody, yeah, we are trying to make it so that we can find ways to bring more people up. And thank you for everybody that is on there, Pietro. Thank you for jumping on here. And Black, I think that thank you for waiting so patiently all this time. If you want to go ahead and speak, please. Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me up. Just want to say hey to a couple of friends I see up here. I haven't seen AP in a minute. It's been a while, dude. Nice to see you, and Rob and Amelie too, of course. So I've been listening to this conversation. It's amazing. I tend to kind of, I utilize these tools very, very heavily and have for a long time with my process, with the art and all these things I'm doing. And I just wanted to kind of briefly kind of give a little bit of perspective because I feel like I've dabbled in pretty much every single version of this as it's come out over the last year or so. I know that the GPTs are brand new as of this week, but I've been working with the LLMs and all different types from things that are hosted on Poe and Claude, all the way to obviously ChatGPT, but also like local, we're using like Faraday and like things like this. And so I've worked with like a ton of different models. Currently, right now, I'm in the middle of writing what I'll refer to as a new belief system, but essentially, I've got over 50,000 words of a brand new, based on more or less like a religious type of document that I think could potentially rival the length of the Bible at some point in the near future. And it may end up becoming the largest religious text in the world. So this is the kind of volume that I'm working with. And some of the things that I've done is create specific types of bots that have like very specific purposes. I think one of the things to keep in mind is like the memory, I think, is a number one problem. One thing I would love to see in the future, obviously, as the models get expanded and you have these use cases such as the different bots and the GPTs, or what I would refer to as agents. That's what we've been calling them for the last like 8 months, anyways. As you have these agents have like very specific use cases, I think that I almost want to see like a cloud-based memory system or something to that effect. Maybe that exists and I'm just unaware of it. But basically, like I think at some point we're going to be in a situation where you're going to have all these different agents that will have different use cases, like writing a book or helping you structure narratives or helping you, like what was said earlier about SEO or whatever else. And you're going to have these like very specific use cases. But the problem is, from what I've seen, the limitation as it is right now is memory. And like the longer you sit with one and the more you interact with one individually, the less it remembers over time, and the more it kind of starts like what people were calling like hallucinating at some point. I don't like that word, but just to refer to it as we all know it, you start to see like that hallucination happen where it starts to kind of fill in the blanks and doesn't really remember what's going on and that sort of thing. But I think in the very near future, I mean, I'm sure months away at this point, at the speed of everything moving, we're going to have these like super super dialed in use cases. And I agree with what was said earlier about how it seems like what OpenAI is doing is utilizing the creation of agents as almost like a data test. Like I completely agree with that, because I think what that is like, it's like market testing. They're trying to see what the use cases are. I think one of the biggest challenges of the last year or so with this technology is that even though it's been available and people go in and they start playing with it like it's a toy, what ends up happening is like you have people get serious about it and they start using it like a tool. And then it becomes extremely impactful. But those specific use cases, I think, looking at it from the perspective of groups like OpenAI, like they don't know how people are using this stuff. How can we use these things to increase workflow or increase volume or better this or make this great or whatever, to write books or make content or video, images, everything, like all this stuff. And I think there's so much there, and it's like such an open sandbox that as you start to see these use cases be built out by people utilizing the agents, they're going to be able to look and say, like, this is being used more than that, this is better than that. And then they'll start taking those and putting them into situations where we'll actually have like longer lasting history and content that it can pull from later. So it's like an infinite going on conversation that it can pull the entire thing down, whether that replaces it with code or does like a JSON backup or whatever it may be. I think there's just like, I think we're at a cusp right now where the mix between capability and use case is about to be figured out. And I think it's going to be just explosive.
I appreciate that. And I think, and I apologize, I was kind of going through and looking at a couple of different things while you were speaking. And on my panel, did anybody want to chime in what he's saying? And Pietro, too, please feel free. But thank you for coming up.
Yeah, actually, I want to add something to what Black said. I do agree that basically what OpenAI is doing is just getting the biggest amount of training data in the world right now, because like basically we're just training like this GPT for free, right? Because like we're gonna give the captioning, we're gonna give the custom instruction, and if things go like really well and the GPTs are like really popular online, and they can see which one are going well and which one are not, they can basically just, let's say, like they're getting all this incredible data, just like quote unquote captioning for them, right? Which is something that actually, if you look when you build your custom GPT at the very end, there is an option that you can, it's called like advanced, I think. And then if you open that, it says, oh yeah, I agree to use my training as data for OpenAI, basically, which is very interesting. And then I guess my last point before I'll pout, what I actually agree a lot with Christelle. I feel like this is the time that you should get on this, trying to get basically your hand dirty, trying to understand like how to use these tools. Because honestly, this is only as good as it is right now as it could be, and it's only gonna get better, right? Like once you're gonna add vision into this, it's over. Like now you have GPT that you can drag and drop stuff, and you can do things with it. I mean, it's just gonna be very exciting. So yeah, I would say just like experiment, find something that find your problem. Honestly, like the most important thing is like what is the thing that it bugs you, and try to solve it via like like just text and language, and then just sell that idea. So but thank you so much for having me here. I love that you guys like the designer GPT. And if you're looking into find an even more interesting generative AI application and product, you should check EverArt AI. It's super cool. So thanks everyone. I'll catch you all soon.
Thank you so much. And we are going to wind down in a second, but AP, I'll get you in a sec here. But thank you for mentioning EverArt too. I have a couple of friends who are looking at EverArt, so we'll have to pay more attention. And maybe if anyone from EverArt is here, please come and see. I'm not sure why
Well,
we got thumbs
I'm
down.
the founder, so
Oh, you are. Oh, I'm so
yeah,
sorry, Pietro. I'm
I
all
was
like,
just
oh, well,
shamelessly plugging my
what's up?
product.
Yeah, you see,
uh,
I've been up like almost
yeah.
24 hours, so I
No,
apologize.
you're totally fine. You're totally fine.
Well,
I just,
thank you. Yeah,
yeah.
I've been talking to people that were using EverArt, and they were talking about writing about it. So it's been in my head, and I was interested, and I wanted to kind of dive into that soon. So hit me up if you,
Yeah,
if
I'll
you,
text you, and so you can try it out. I'll
and
DM you.
and please come back, and especially if you're saying it's a resource that if we're interested in finding, like, what is the platform base? Is it a platform app?
Yeah, it's basically it's like the best place right now to fine tune your own image model. And so a lot of people, the way they're using it, they're uploading their own art, their own style, their own designs, or even things like Pinterest board. There's something that they're just like excited visually, and now basically they're able to generate any sort of image they want in that style. And so when you think about it, especially when it comes to generative AI, the main issue right now is that those tools are very hard to use, right? You have to write this incredible long prompt, and even if when you write this long prompt, you never really get what you want, even with DALI and Midjourney, because you're still playing by the rules of the base model. But whatever art does, you basically getting styles that are just not in the standard model, and you can just like explore all these ideas. And I think that's why a lot of people are honestly organically tweeting about it, because it's different, it's new, and you can just do things that are just not possible with like Midjourney or DALI and etc.
Oh, well, thank you very. Now I'm very intrigued. So I have so
Yeah.
many things that there's not enough hours in the day to do to just see. There's just so many things out there, and for everybody who's an audience now, we do this every Friday, and I want to extend like, let me know, DM me if you have something you want to speak about, because we're going to try to figure out a way. Things happen so fast now,
Yeah.
and we try to kind of ride with what is going on, but to bring information to people, we are going to do this again. We'll be back here next week, and please contact me or anybody on the panel so that we can kind of figure out what's going on and who we can slot to put, so we can have some kind of a structure, and
Yeah.
this way everybody can get more information. Who was that? Was somebody speaking?
No, I was gonna say that's awesome. I'm just gonna go now, and Amar should probably come up too. He's been like exploring so many of those tools.
Amar,
So
yes, and he knows he's always welcome, and he's been coming up since I first started having these. I think he can't speak at the moment, but either way, we are 2 hours in, so we will save it. And Amar knows he could definitely come anytime because he does some groundbreaking things, and he pushing boundaries. There's so many people here that are doing that, and thank you all so much for hanging in here with us, and I hope that we're able to help everybody learn a little bit more. And there's just so much out there. Keep writing and look around at the people in this room so that you can see faces and recognize tags and handles, and look at please go into the chat We have 76 comments in there, it looks like. So there's tons of information. People drop your GPTs in there, or any, whatever you're working on, if it's videos or if you have an app, put it in there and make sure you go back and see if people are asking questions about it. Answer those questions. That will stay there, the chat. So please, you can go in later and do that. And there's a lot of cool information. Hopefully here somebody's going to be putting these GPTs into a database. Pietro, I don't know if that's something that will be available on the on EverArt or wherever, but I see you, man, so many people in the room. Thank you, Michal. Eric, thank you from Storia. I see G Prompter, thank you. Sarah, thank you so much. You're wonderful. Thank you for letting me know certain people's in the room so we could talk to them. Olivia, hello. And Muriel, Tom, Tony, Thomas, Brian. I can go on. Mindy, there's so many people. It's just coffee vectors, all kinds of people here, and it's so great. It's such like a renaissance time. My panel, thank you all for coming and speaking. We'll just go real fast. It's 7:12, 7:15. Emily, you want to go first? What's going on? And anything to say goodbye?
Oh my God, I pulled a U.
Yeah, I'll say. I'm like, wait, what was I thinking? Okay, well, go ahead. I'll come back.
I was writing a DM, and so I
know that's
wasn't
what I've been
prepared.
doing
What
this
was
whole
the
time.
question?
Well, I'll say we're gonna go. It's 7:12, so I was just gonna go around and you're working at Splash.
Oh yeah. Oh, just goodbyes. Okay. Well,
Yeah, just goodbye. Just saying.
fabulous.
Anything going
It
on?
has been amazing being here. I love you all. It's been. I always love being up here, and of course, Heather, you're fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
And I really, really appreciate AP and Rob answering my questions. And yeah, I started at Splash Music this week. Everyone go check it out. It's a really cool generative AI music tool that is, I don't know, in my opinion, one of the easiest and best music creation things right now. And you can generate for free on it if you want to start off, but also they have max subscriptions where if you're like more into music, you can then generate like stems from like your finished projects so that you can take that out into like a DAW and work on them more there. So it splits them up like in the thing, and you can do lyrics and vocals. So you can add AI lyrics, and there's little people that sing it for you, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a really easy thing to work, really easy UI to work with. So highly
Can you
recommend
use it
going.
on like or you like the how is it licensed or the
It is all commercially viable, so they make all of their music in-house basically. So their whole library has been made in-house with musicians that they have hired in order to like create the loops and the tracks and stuff for it. And yeah, so everything that you make, you can use in anything and everything. You can sell, you can do whatever
So
you want with it.
you have actual musicians that are creating that. That's
Yep, actual musicians that create the music for it. Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's very cool.
wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Man, thank you. Wow, okay. And is any of it AI like generated like from the
Yeah,
music?
so actually, so the way that it works is there's two models. There's the Gen 1 model and the Gen 2 model. The Gen 1 model is more of it's all AI, but it's not generative, so it's more of an algorithmic base. So we have all of these loops that were created by the musicians, like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of loops. And based on the prompt that you give it, it'll pull like loops that match sort of like the style and stuff that you're looking for, and then combine those loops into a song. You'll start off with like a 15-second a sample, and then you can expand from there up to 2 minutes long. So you kind of say like, oh, I like this and I'd like to expand it, or oh, I like this and I'd like to expand it here. And then it'll paint lyrics over it if you want to add lyrics that way. And then the second one, which is the Gen 2, which is the model that we're currently working on, and we'll actually be releasing an update of that because it's still very much in beta, but that's the fully generative one. So you're going to be getting it's still using the same data set, but instead of like using the loops, it's generating completely new loops and things like that onto into the music. And so, but that's also why you can really get really crisp stems with it, because it's all starting off with like the original loops anyway. So it's separated to begin with. So that's kind of what's really cool about it.
Well, I'm glad I asked because I didn't realize any of that. So that sets it apart from the other. It sets it apart from a lot of the AI generated music apps.
It really does. It's very cool. I like it a lot.
And okay, well, thank you so much, and congratulations. I hope let us know if you have any challenges or any new features or something like that. But we'll have to have you come on so we can talk more in depth about, because that's an important thing to get different types of AI generated music or AI music to use with your AI uh, film and things like that.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely a booming space right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Amar, you came up. Thank you. Hello and
Hey,
welcome.
how's it going? It's been a while.
I know. Thank you. Thank you so much. What's up?
Well, yeah, I don't want to keep you too long, Heather. I do want you to get some rest because we'd like to see you next Friday. um, but yeah, I just wanted to say it's been a great space. Always learned a ton from people here, and yeah, I've been playing a lot with the custom GPTs with EverArt. And so I just wanted to put out an offer, basically, if anyone needs help or if there's any way you're experimenting and get stuck somewhere with Runway or anything, just hit me up, DM me. I would be happy to help. It's just super, super fun seeing more and more people out there creating stuff. So yeah, that's all I had to say.
Well, thank you for when you share. And I actually, as I was working on my GPT last night, the first one, I was looking for ideas on what to do. And I saw your tutorial and how
That's
you
awesome.
made, so I was sitting there looking like, oh, okay. Oh, and going through for the screenshots and showing
Yeah,
step by step. So please, Amar he always does tutorials for his different projects he works on. And he has a variety of things. So he breaks it down under the hood to make sure you understand.
too kind, Heather. Thank you. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you. You have a good
You too.
weekend. And let me see. Oh, this Allie had to drop there. And let me see here. Allie, thank you so much. Taylor, you want to say something? And then I'll hit Crystal and
Sure.
AP.
Yeah, Amar, it's so good to hear your voice. I've missed you. So,
Likewise.
we need to have you around more often. Sorry. I know that you lurk on these occasionally, but I love when you come up to speak. So you're welcome anytime. And just to echo what Heather was saying earlier, definitely there's like so much happening in this space in terms of new products being built and launched and tested and experimented with. So if you are a builder, a creator, a developer who is, directly working with these kind of tools and have some value to share or some really cool insights to share with the community, definitely get at, Heather, me, some of the other members on the panel typically. So Rob, Salma, Ali, that are usually here, just slide into the DMs and let us know so that we can figure out if that's a fit to feature on a future space. But other than that, as always, this was so fabulous. I love you guys. I love learning from this community. I am a content creator and educator with a pretty deep past experience in creative teams and ad agencies. And now I teach other founders and creators and entrepreneurs what they need to know to build an online brand. And a lot of that has to do with AI and all of the different tools that we can use to make our lives easier and do things more efficiently, cheaper, and sometimes more creatively. So that's what I do. You can find out more by checking out my newsletter. It's linked on my page. And also I've been interviewing some of the amazing creators in this space and kind of across different social channels altogether of how they grew and how they built their journey. So the next episode that's coming out next week is with our very own Heather Cooper. But you can catch the last one that's pinned on my profile as well with Rob. So that's my piece. As always, Heather, thank you so much for hosting this. It's been such a pleasure. You good, Heather? We're still here. I hope that she's here.
Oh, you know what? Never mind. I was speaking with the mute on.
The
At
mute
speak.
on.
Like,
Okay, okay, good.
what's
I
wrong?
was
Is
like, oh
Taylor's having
no.
audio problems? But no, thank you. Taylor's a great host, and she asks great questions. And thank you. That helps a lot because you made it make me think a little bit more about my path and what I'm doing. So thank you, and I encourage you to listen to the podcast that she has out there from Matt and from Rob and anyone else she's interviewed. Thank you so much for coming and helping and co-hosting all these months. But AP, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. So yeah, great to hear from Black, Amar, Emily, everybody. Thank you for hosting, Heather, Taylor. Yeah, just the best way to learn is by building, and so yeah, just build, and then you're gonna learn a lot.
Well, thank you. And I wrote about your cereal box maker. Now it seems like that was what, like 2 months ago, but I think it was just a couple weeks ago. But he has a cool cereal box maker tool, and it's like, why make it? But because it's fun. And now I have a bunch of cool little cereal boxes, and you can cut them out and put them on an actual box. So that is such a cute idea. Won't you drop that in the comments? But thank you so much, AP. And Crystal, thank you. You want to say something?
Yeah, sure. And I'll keep it quick. I just want to leave you all with two things. One, I pinned at the top there. I used one of the custom GPTs by ChatGPT, the data analytics or data analysis. I can't remember what it's called. It's one of those. But I did a thread showing how you can upload, if you're interested in seeing your X data, like if you're interested in growing as a creator here on X. I did it. It took me less than 5 minutes to download the CSV file that comes in the Twitter analytics and just upload it in the custom GPT. I really wanted to test out uploading something. And I just asked it to analyze my posts for me and tell me what my audience is most engaged with. And I was actually shocked. And this is going to change my content plan. I am going to start focusing on different content based off of analyzing my data. So that's the first thing. I hope that's helpful to you. I'm all about you all growing and all of us growing. Again, I'm new, but I've been able to grow my account because of community and live audio and all of that. So and then the second thing is I actually want to give you some alpha and tell you the tool that I use to create this because I heard you all talking about Loom earlier. So I love Loom, but what I use for this is a tool called Guide. And it's Guide with two D's, Guidde. I will put the link because I can't stand it when people want to spell out a website and not share the link. So once I'm done talking, I will put that in the chat here so that you all can just click on it. But this is an AI tool, and this tutorial took me, again, I'm all about saving time. Okay, this is why I use AI. I have a 1-year-old, I'm full time, like I have to save time. So this guide took me maybe, I don't know, less than 4 minutes because what it does is every time, so you just go to do something, right? Whatever it is that you want to do a tutorial, every time you click a button, it's taking a screenshot, and then at the end, it actually turns it into a video. OMG, OMG. I love it. I love it. I love it. They
Is it
have
out for PC? Is it for PC?
I just use it on regular, desktop browser, Chrome
Yeah, they have
browser.
pros extension.
Yeah, they have a free trial, but I'm pretty sure they have a free forever plan. It just has the branding or whatever, but it turns it into a video. It uses AI voiceover, and then you can do like I did and save each one as a screenshot if you want to do more, like a thread. That's what
Hmm.
I'm working on, a thread step by step thing. So that's what I did. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you so much, Heather, for the space. I know how much energy this requires. So
Well,
God bless you.
thank you for
Thank you.
even.
Thank you.
I keep saying I'm going to use Guide because I think Matt Wolf was talking about it too, and I've been aware of it and I've used it some, but I never quite get to like actually completing a tutorial with it. But you're right; it just sits there and you don't notice it at all while you're working, and it just tracks everywhere you have you know everywhere your mouse touches or whatever, and then you can go in and edit each of those individual steps, and you can add more steps and add video and text to it if you want. But it's really a great tool in it. If step by step, whatever that, or if you just want to see how did you do this, and it'll give people a nice walkthrough. So it is a really good tool. Guide, GUI with two D's. D is in David, D is in David. Thank you so much. And also for the analytics. That's a great idea. And she's so right with that. For your analytics, you can go beside on your menu on the X app. Even it does it on your phone too. I don't think we used to be able to access it on mobile, but just pull up if you go to your analytics, go to the old one, the white, it'll show you like what you're over, it'll show you the individual tweet, the individual posts, but you can pull that up and put that export that as a CSV file. And a lot of people that are trying to grow, they don't realize that you do have to go back. There's no point in spending all this time on long, complicated threads or really in depth information if you're not analyzing what is the reaction, what is the engagement, who's paying attention, not just impressions, but the engagement. And that all adds into pushing you further out in the algorithm. See what works, do more of that, and just keep doing that. The things that aren't working, scrap it or change it, adapt it. But these are the things we can do. There's a lot of people, really talented people that I see all the time that aren't getting much reach because those are the little things. You have to kind of go back every now and then, every week or so, and see what has happened. What are the trends? When is your audience most active? That's a very important tool. You might make sure you go back through and repost things. Don't just let it sit there. Repost it once, in 12 hours so that you hit people that are on both sides of the globe. So that you may have that they're in the feeds. It's going to stay there for 48 hours, or your followers and different people, or they might not see it. So you have to make sure they might see it a day or two later. So make sure you reboost that yourself and comment and go around and engage with a lot of people. But thank you. That's a great use case that we can use right away. And Black, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to say, and I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, but did you, anything that you're doing right now that going on, anything you want to announce, please? But thank you so
Yeah,
much for coming up.
yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me up. I think if I were to give any kind of perspective or advice to the room is, there's always a new shiny toy out there, and I think that depending on what it is you have going on personally and what your goals are, what your overall intention is, that really matters in terms of what it is you go after and what you go to use. And so, you don't have to be a master at all the things that are out there because pretty soon there's going to be more than we can handle. And it is that way for me right now. I can't go play around with everything I want to. And I think it's just important to know like what your goals are and then just go, as focused as possible on those things and utilize the things that are best for you and that journey. As far as things I have going on, I'm much more in the Web3 art world of things, fine art stuff. I got a few shows coming up and larger projects and things like this, which I'm sure a lot of your audience isn't, super into. But as far as the AI stuff, I've been in it, been in this game with others here that have been up on stage here for a while. And, Amelie and I, for example, ran a show for a long time. So we've been real tight on a lot of these tools as they've come up. And I would echo the same sentiment as others that if anyone has any questions, especially with image generation or even just working with LLMs in general, because I've done a ton of that at this point, all different kinds. And I've got a good perspective on how to use them and break them to your advantage. That's essentially what it is that I do. But that's sort of the artist in me. So once again, I appreciate you having me up, and it's been a pleasure to listen to everyone on the audience for sure, or in the panel. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And I'll extend the invitation. Please come back. And I know there's a lot of things that are happening all the time. And you may think that there's not people that are interested in that, the fine art. But we have a pretty broad audience. And there's a lot of people that have multiple disciplines and things that they're interested in. So you'd be surprised. And we all have our own perspective. And it's great to hear from a different one. So I'm glad that Emily started, she came and it adds more our communities to, we don't have to be like, well, this group is working on this and this is Web3. We can all coexist and have a space where we can all talk about things and learn more about some of the things that we're not familiar with. I'm trying desperately to learn more about Web3 and the blockchain and different things because I just think that I don't like not knowing things. And I think that just saying, oh, that's crypto or whatever, that's this, it's kind of tuning out a whole idea and theory that is not, it has a lot of valid points. And I think that it's worth it for us all to try to learn a little bit more and understand each other's experience. So thank you so much. And I am sorry. I apologize to people who didn't get a mic today. And please come back. It is 7:30, and we want to respect people's time. I know it's the people who are in the middle of the night there, or it's very late. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We'll be back next week, and I think Matt will be back next week also. But next week was also, I'll be hosting my first challenge for Hive, and I encourage you guys. So it will go live next Friday, I think, at 12 noon. So get ready, and I don't know if I can give a peek yet, but I'll start writing about it. But it's going to be $5,000 for first, second, and third. It'll be divided up, so it's worth some money. It's worth some time, and I'm not an expert designer or marketing, so I made it something that anybody can do. So please, look forward to that, compete, and then if nothing else, submit something so you can get it. It'll be on the website under your profile. So I think that's cool. Anytime you can have your work shown online, that's just free, advertising, and it lives there, right? So make sure you do that. But everybody, please, I hope that you'll share your work, share if you find some cool GPTs or new use cases, share it, because I was scouring, looking around for different things, because when I realized what I could do, it was hard to kind of narrow down, okay, what am I actually going to work on? But seeing other things gives me ideas and inspiration. So please share, go on Remix, check it out. And it's something that you don't have to be afraid of. It's free. Go check it out and see. The image generation is good too. It is really, really good. And I think my couple posts that I have at the top just give you an idea of the quality, but it's very good. And they have multiple styles, and it's free. I'd sit up there. How many times can I say it? I can re-roll for up to 10 times, I think. And I don't want everybody to start re-rolling over and over, but please take advantage of this stuff, because it is fun. It's just another way it's a social platform where we're just basically sharing generative art. So thank you all for coming. Please have a great weekend. Be creative. And I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about next Friday. But thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Heather. Have a good weekend, you guys.
Thank you too. Bye bye.